Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of I'll Call You Right Back podcast with me, your host. My name is Chad Medved. Thank you for being here on this beautiful Thursday morning. Each and every Thursday, we're back with another great guest doing great things for our city. And this week, we have a very special guest. This week, we sit down with Steve Dawson of the Fat Butcher Shop. Fat Butcher is a brand new all animal butcher, or whole animal rather. Got to get the terminology correct. Fat Butcher is a whole animal butcher shop that is in Lawrenceville. Currently, brand new, opened up the end of November. And, I've been seeing them on Instagram, been seeing people posting about them, been seeing their reels, been seeing the whole thing. And I reached out because I've always kind of been fascinated by the whole thing. I've always been fascinated by the Art of Butchery since I was a young lad. If I rather it be fish or venison, it was always something interesting to me because it always kind of felt like brutal and bleak, but you would always know that like there was something more behind that. You're killing something. So it's kind of, it's a powerful thing. It's a heavy thing, but, I thought it was valuable to have a butcher come on and really speak on what they're doing and their passions. You know what I mean? To work with, you gotta cut through it. You gotta talk as it is. Cows are dying. Cute cows are dying. Cute pigs are dying for us to eat and be sustained. You know what I mean? That's the grim truth. And that's a reality that a lot of people, I feel, don't acknowledge. We all go into the grocery stores, right? We're all grabbing packs of chickens. We're all grabbing, whole rotisserie chickens, whole steaks, ground meat, and everyone's just like, walking down the aisles and like not really thinking of where this shit is coming from. And, and whenever I say, everyone, obviously it's not everyone. I know that there's a lot of people that are very conscious of what they're doing and where they're buying their products from. But I know that there is a certain group of people that, that don't even acknowledge that, that thought doesn't even cross their mind. And, they might see something and they might think like, oh yeah, it's messed up that these animals are dying this way. But, we're all in the grocery stores and we're all eating these foods and we're all doing that. And I feel like it's important to acknowledge that, you know what I mean? And what better way to do that, to hear it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. And, he is, he's a very interesting dude. Spent a stint traveling the country as a geologist. He, had a whole different career, a whole different life. And all of a sudden he pops up in Pittsburgh with a whole animal butchery that is, looking pretty damn great, if I do say so myself. It definitely caught my eye, obviously, if I'm sitting down and talking with him. And, after I sat down and like started hearing his story and how everything kind of unfolded, it was just kind of mind blowing to me because like this dude, like I said, he had a whole different career and then he just up and, shifted his whole entire life to do what he was passionate about. And like, that's the shit that like really is like inspiring to me. Like, I swear to God, I have goosebumps right now. Like he is so motivating. Like this conversation that I had with him, just like the trajectory of his life and kind of how everything panned out for him and how he made everything happen is like, inspiring to me, inspiring to, me and my wife were listening to the episode last night as I was editing it. And it's just like, he's just spitting game, he's really like, this podcast is almost spark notes for people to listen to for all these people's lives. And, kind of think about that. It's like everyone that we're talking about, there's chefs, there's entrepreneurs, there's funeral directors, there's people that own skate shops, all these people, we're listening to their stories complete through from beginning to end, how they got there. And it's basically, what to do and what not to do, because, we're obviously going to talk about shit if it's a big moment in life, whether it be a big fuck up or a big, advance in someone's life. And each and every week, these people are like, spitting game to us, whether it be, like I said, beekeepers or, candle makers. It's pretty fascinating to me to think that each and every week I'm talking to these people, because I almost feel like, I feel like I have an advantage over people, like that I'm hearing all these stories and hearing like, how people are doing these things and, trying to apply it to my life in the right way. And, it's fascinating to me. I'm excited about it. And Steve is a perfect example because, it's a wild ride. It's a wild story. And, he executes well, and he's doing the damn thing in Lawrenceville at the Fat Butcher Shop, 5151 Butler Street. If you are looking for a place that has good quality, locally sourced, products, good meat. I think he said his meat was right up an hour away. The pigs that he uses are an hour away. He calls these people and they bring down a half of a cow, and it's just like that. There's not a bunch of different hands going through it. It's like he knows the source of these things. He knows where he's getting his products, and it's kind of a beautiful thing to hear how the process is from a cute cow in a field to that charred piece of flesh on your table. And it's an important thing to hear. So I'll quit talking your ear off. Without further ado, episode 230 of I'll Call You Right Back podcast with Steve Dawson at the Fat Butcher Shop.
I gotta use the telephone.
Hello?
Telephone.
I'll call you right back.
Telephone.
I'll Call You Right Back podcast.
Yeah, when I went to my buddy's, I did a friend of mine's podcast who they own
Toss some headphones on.
24/7 fights.
Yeah, 24/7 fight.
Yeah, and
I follow them guys.
Yeah, so Hunter had me come down, and I brought a bunch of like random stuff from the shop, and one of the things I brought was like a new knife that I had. Right when we opened, I got a couple gifts that were knives, and I bought myself one, like a new chef knife.
Oh yeah,
because I've always used like the 7 or 8 inch, like small
run of the mill.
Yeah, I mean, it was a couple other ones that were gifts or like global. You know what I mean? Nothing like too fancy.
So when you opened the shop, you bought yourself a nice one.
I bought myself a few, but the one that I bought was like it wasn't anything crazy either. It was like maybe $150, but it was like this crazy Damascus steel, like V10. I don't know. It was a Japanese,
the crazy specs.
Yeah. It was like wood handle with like this Tokyo style like mount that it has in it, and I've
become fascinated because like I'm on Reddit, like a knife Reddit talk, and it's just like I've always been a fan of knives, and like my buddy started making these knives, and I bought like 3 of them from him like 6 years ago whenever he first started.
Yeah.
To one for me and one for my brother and my cousin to ask them to be in my wedding. They're the same knives, same wood, just have like a little hint of a different color. But like he's been just refining his craft and like leaps and bounds in the past 5 years. Goat head knives. But this thing, I got to get a hard case because this thing almost went right through my foot.
Wow, yeah.
Very, very pumped about it.
Wow.
Dude, he kills it. He really does.
Yeah.
Right out of Finleyville.
Okay.
Right out of his garage.
Sick.
He's working on pocket knives, but like chef knives. He's working in Damascus. Like he's and he's just like just in his garage, dude, wrenching.
Just figuring it out.
I love it.
If you want to talk to Logan sometime, though, he's really easy to talk to. He's a smart guy. He knows a ton about knives. So he came in today and like he saw what I was getting. He was like, "Oh, I see that," and like blah blah blah. And I'm like,
just by the belt clip.
Yeah, I'm like, "What do you have?" And he had 4 different knives on him,
just sitting on him real quick.
He'll come to the gym and there's like 5 flashlights in his backpack. He reviews all this stuff. So like he had 4 knives on him.
He's like the dude Blues Travelers, but instead of harmonicas, just a bunch of knives.
Yeah, he had one that was ProTech automatic. So like automatics just got legal.
Yeah, I saw that.
And he has a bunch of like out the front ones that are like crazy.
You know that I feel like they're so cool, but like in my pocket,
I'm not carrying it.
Yeah, like what's a lock? I don't know if there's a lock in it. I know that there's like a tension that you have to press up for it to shoot out, but it's like, come on now.
You start wrestling around.
I got a fat leg. It's gonna press it. Come on.
You have like a backpack and it like pushes.
Yeah,
down
dude. Someone like rubs into you a little bit different. I can't do it.
It doesn't have like it won't like push all the way out. Like it has like a
it stops if there's resistance.
It'll get you though.
Yeah, I'm not. Come on, I ain't messing. I got a Gerber my uncle gave me whenever I was like 12. I still carry this thing around, just like plain as day. Yeah, that's all I need. I ain't knife fighting with people. Just owning a box or two. But I appreciate you coming down. I know that it was a hike. You guys are like, what's the address down there?
5151 Butler Street. It's like Upper Lawrenceville.
Upper Lawrenceville, like by what?
It's past the cemetery.
Okay.
The bar, like the place that most people know when we talk about the neighborhood is Dive Bar.
Oh yeah, I know exactly where that is now that you say that.
So if you're looking at Dive Bar, it's like 2 doors to the right. There's Spirit is on one end of the block. Just down past Spirit is Coven Brewing. Yeah. And then, which used to be Roundabout. And then up the next block, Lolev opened up a brewery there. Then there's Allegheny Wine Mixer. Yeah. Which I live like right on that block. And then,
all kinds of good stuff down there.
Yeah. Hop Farm Brewing is up the street from us too. So, and then what's moving in, there was a place called B52. So it was a vegan sandwich shop or something, vegan food. And, I guess Mediterra Cafe. Yeah, opening up another location there. So
they're about to take over.
That's about to be in the neighborhood. We already get bread from them. We get some baguettes from them like every week. So yeah, the neighborhood is.
It's on the up and up.
It's on the up and up.
Been on the up and up for a minute.
Yeah, I think Upper Lawrenceville kind of didn't feel that.
Yeah, that was like that's like that kind of took a back seat to the rest of it.
Yeah,
but now it seems to be picking up a little bit.
Yeah, I got plenty of options after I leave the shop for places I want to grab a beer.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
When did the shop open?
We had our soft opening the first week in November, and then we had grand opening November 11th. So like the right side of Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you're right at 2 months now.
Yeah.
And honestly, dude, I don't know much about you, and I'm pumped about it because like I follow all these people. So I saw someone post Fat Butcher, and I'm fascinated by all of it. So I immediately was like, oh, if this is a Pittsburgh butcher, because I've looked and there's like a couple other that are like, been here for a long, long time. Right. But, it just never got around to it. I sent an email to one of them, never got nothing back. And it's like, these people I don't expect these people to be looking at their website. These dudes are in farms, back there. They're not looking at the website.
Yeah. Outside of town.
Like the old school people that have been here for like 75 years and shit. But, I'm always been fascinated by the trade. Saw that you started having a little bit of marketing through all these different pages. Reached out to you, wanted to sit down and talk with you. I don't even know. Are you even from Pittsburgh? Mm-hmm. You're from here?
Yeah. I'm from the AK Valley.
What's that?
The Alikiski Valley. That's out east. So if you go up, it's like the town I'm from is Vandergrift. It's a small town.
I've always heard of it, but I'm also terrible with maps, dude. I'm terrible with maps.
So like if you go out 28.
And
then like New Kensington is like New Ken and Arnold and Lower Borough are the first, and
very hip to that part.
That area is like the end of the Kiski Valley. So the Kiski Valley then goes up
beyond that.
Yeah, there's Leechburg, Apollo, Vandergrift. You keep going up the Kiski River. Then there's like Salzburg and Avonmore is up there. Okay, so it's like in between Murraysville and like New Ken.
Yeah, well, no man's land over there.
Yeah, there's no like direct road to get. You got to go through Plum. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah, my wife is right from. She lives in Oakmont, or her parents right in Oakmont. So it's like from. I was in Elizabeth. There's not really like a great way to like get over there. It's just like meandering through these all back roads. Exactly. But so you're from around here. Where? I mean, how long is Fat Butcher? I mean, is Fat Butcher?
I'm the only Yinzer in the shop.
You're the only Yinzer. I mean, has Fat Butcher been a name since before the shop is open?
I thought about it for a while.
But there wasn't any shop or anything like that before?
No.
What were you doing before this?
I was living all over the place. I mean, not all over the place. I take that back. Long story.
All right, before we even get into the long story, let's rewind all the way. So, I mean, you're a young kid, is a butcher, in your sights, your entire life?
No, not really. I mean, like, I grew up in an Italian family, so, like, we cooked a lot, and we stopped at the butcher shop.
Yeah.
And we stopped at, like, Italian store, butcher shop on the way home, up in the Heights in Vandergrift. Del Vecchio's was the first shop we used to go to, but I didn't
Del Vecchio's.
Yeah, Del Vecchio's and Fazio's is where we got everything pretty much. And, like, I didn't really even think much about it. I just knew that my mom cooked spaghetti and meatballs like every day. I was sick of it. But anyway, like, shout out to my mom. She's great. And
you lived in a typical Italian family?
Yeah, typical Italian family. Like
Sunday dinners, all that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. We'd have pasta multiple nights a week, and then grandma's Sunday gravy.
Are you like a young kid cooking with them, or are you just eating?
Kind of. I'm just eating. Yeah. I'm just grubbing. Yeah. And we make I don't know. It's. A lot of people in my family cook. My grandma and my grandfather had a lot of recipes they brought over. And like my grandfather would make like pasta visual every single day.
Okay.
And that was one of the first things I learned how to cook. But I didn't go and like explore that until I was much later in life. I went to college in Ohio at Muskingum University. I played football and majored in geology.
Geology?
Yeah, I was really interested in like.
That's what you plan on doing for a job? Geology?
Yep. Yeah, and wow. I did. I graduated in like 2006. It only took me like 5.5 years, but I got out of there and I got a job as a geologist on oil fields out in California.
Wow.
The job is called a mud logger. So
what year is this?
Like 2006, 2005, so 2006 through 2007. And I was traveling back and forth to Bakersfield, California, sitting on oil rigs, looking at rocks as they're drilling. And you just on-site geologists tell them what they're drilling in, how deep, if there's oil in there and stuff like that.
Wow.
Create maps. But it's a pretty dirty, pretty dangerous kind of job. There was some like explosions and stuff out there while I was like not on site, but like I'd go out and the whole rig was gone and they were like, yeah, 2 guys died.
Yeah. I mean, we all seen Armageddon.
So I ended up, my wife was living in France at the time. She was studying French and she moved back into the DC area. And she got a job there at like a wine importer where she was still speaking French. I was visiting, we were back and forth, and I applied for a job in environmental consulting.
Yeah. How old are you at this time?
26.
Okay.
And
wait. We're ripping and we're tearing already. Like what kind of shit are you doing? Like, before this, before you're into like this career, like, are you working in you have any sort of like food industry?
No culinary background at all.
None.
Nothing. No.
I mean, like what kind of stuff were you doing? You said you played football.
I was cooking. I was cooking at home. You know what I mean? But the only thing like I could make sauce.
Yeah.
My mom, and I could make meatballs and stuff.
Yeah. A few of your family recipes.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And I would try some stuff, like cooking steaks, how everyone does. They burn them and, get your cast iron super hot.
Yeah.
I thought I knew how to make I was working around some like Indian dishes, chana masala, stuff like that. But I didn't really know how to cook professionally. And I didn't start doing that until a few years later.
Okay. Yeah. So the only reason I was asking that is like, I didn't know if you were like, oh yeah, in high school I was working in restaurants and shit like that.
No.
But so geologist and you're traveling back and forth, you said your wife moved back to the DC area.
Right. Then I moved there. We got married, and I was working at an environmental consulting firm as a geologist there. And I traveled around. We would like remediate contaminated sites for different industries that were, whether it was like a real estate company or developer that was developing a property that's, fucked up from, oil or a gas station or like some sort of like, I don't know, anything.
Absolutely.
And so groundwater testing that, working on remediation systems, did that for like 7 or 8 years. And then my wife went back to grad school. We moved to Madison, Wisconsin. That's where she went to school. And then we moved to Montreal, Quebec.
Jesus.
We lived
all
there.
Over.
Yeah. So we moved up there so that she could finish her grad program. And my company I was actually able to transfer to that office up in Quebec. And
that's like cool then.
A French-speaking office though, and I couldn't speak French. So
now
goodness. I'm like kind of there.
Trying to figure it out.
It was supposed to be 6 months and ended up being over 2 years.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, we got to get back to the U.S. Like we got to get back home somewhere.
What was it like living up there from like,
dude, it was great.
Was it?
It was like, this is like 2012, 13, 14 around there. And, but that was where I started training jiu-jitsu. And, one of the guys at my gym, his name's Max, and man, he's a good dude. I remember talking to him like every day, and he was like one of these like motivational coaches, like fitness guys, like sort of the guys that are doing that, like Wim Hof, jumping in cold water and stuff, and training with kettlebells out in the park.
Oh yeah.
And he was like, I couldn't imagine going to a job every day that I didn't like. And I was like, yeah, I do that. I go in, I'm wearing headphones, I'm listening to podcasts. I go to the gym at lunch, or I take an hour break, and no one cares what I do. And I'm like kind of just coasting. And then until I get to go to the gym, and I'm going to the gym like every day. And I was in great shape. It was really fun. But he was like, why don't you do something else? And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I was applying to a ton of jobs to get back to the US, and I couldn't get any. Like there was a little recession, and in my industry, like a lot of companies were buying each other, and they were, there was redundancies. So like there was no space for me to back even at my own company. Yeah. And I had moved up to like a middle management position, right? So like pretty cush job. Obviously I'm like taking interviews in other people's offices.
Yeah, for sure. You're not doing a lot of the grunt work.
No, and that's what I wanted to do.
And that's what's easy to be comfortable in.
I know. And I went to be a geologist because I wanted to work with my hands, be outside, and stuff like that. And like,
now, in any of the time of these 8 years, like, do you have any sort of like, or do you want to do anything else, or you're like cool working there? Like you enjoyed what you were doing.
I was cool working there. Yeah, I was cool working there. I wasn't sure what else I was going to do. I was thinking I was going to, move up within that company. Yeah. But as far as like becoming an independent consultant, because that's where you can actually make money.
Yeah, for sure.
But I don't even like doing all of the paperwork for this. Like I don't enjoy it. Like, and in order to go out and do more field work, you either have to be an entry level, or you have to be like a doctor. Yeah. And have a doctorate where you can just do whatever you want and people will pay you to do research. And I wasn't going back to school, so I wasn't really sure. And at that time, a friend of mine, his name's Paul Kukler, he had a restaurant in DC who we had become friends with when we had lived down there. And he wanted to get out from this restaurant and make his own and do something different. And I was like, I want to do something different too, man. Like I'm inspired by my buddy Max to just be like, dude, just do something else.
Yeah, for sure.
So while I was at work, I put together a business plan to open up a restaurant in Pittsburgh, like in the north side, like up in the near, not Mexican War Streets, but like North Avenue, like where the old theater is and stuff there. And this is just like a dream. Yeah. Right.
What kind of restaurant?
It was going to be, I think it was going to be a French restaurant, it was going to be a French restaurant. I think the name was like North Side Social or something like that.
And you had no experience?
No experience. So I could put together like a projected, based on like my consulting work, business management consulting. So I wrote this whole thing out.
Made it look great on paper.
It was great on paper. A couple of friends of mine moved to that neighborhood, and then a couple of friends of mine were like investing in that neighborhood, and they're like, this is going to be a spot. Like, yeah. And
what year was this?
2014.
What was that area like? Because now it's obviously a little bit different over there. Yeah. Like, what was the environment like there? Back then?
You didn't want to walk up Cedar. Okay. You know what I mean? Like,
so it wasn't. It was a little bit rougher.
It was still, it was rougher. I mean, it's still, if you go down Cedar, like when you go to the stadium, it still sucks. Yeah. I mean, in some spots, it's sad. I mean, but I think there's some. Yeah. So it was a rough outlook, but I thought that area right by North was kind of cool. There's like a couple churches there. It seems like it's closer to the War Streets. Yeah. It's right on the park. And so I put this business plan together, and I drove from Montreal back to Pittsburgh while my friend Paul drove from DC up to Pittsburgh. And we met up with a buddy of mine who was working. He's still working, but he's in an office downtown. He does finance stuff. Yeah. So
I'm sorry to interrupt you. You said you put in this business plan, but with intention to pitch it to who?
To maybe a bank or to my friends who maybe.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know if you were looking at like partner up with your buddy that you were talking about, or if you were looking to do this yourself. Oh, okay,
yeah, he's a chef. He was doing it for 20 years.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And they were like, on paper, this looks good. You know? They're like, but what would you do? And I'm like, I don't know, like general manager or something. They're like. Like you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. They're like, you need to get some experience. So, when my wife and I, when we moved back to Wisconsin, she ended up getting a job at UW, after graduating from UW, finishing her internship in Montreal. She was working at HEC in Montreal. So we moved back to Madison, and I just quit my job.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't find work. I'm going to just do what Paul told me to do, which is like find the best chef you can. Go there. They're not going to pay you at all. Like they'll pay you dog shit. Ask as many questions as they have time to answer. Keep your head down. Learn as much as you can.
Yeah, you're getting paid in experience.
Yeah.
Going to college.
Yep. And then, so it was like a 4-year, another 4-year degree. And
so you got a job at a restaurant.
I got a job at a restaurant, but I got a job part-time at the butcher shop that I used to live right by.
Okay.
But there was a whole animal shop, and I was like, I really like this. They were like a little slow at that time of year. So they were like, one of the guys was like, hey, I know someone who just opened a restaurant. They're looking for cooks. Would you cook in a restaurant? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I'll do anything. Like, I'll do all of that. And I was doing 1 day here, 3 days here, 2 days over at this place, working with another butcher. So I was like, I kind of want to learn that. Like, that skill seems more interesting to me. And my friend Paul was like, get behind the bar. You're going to be a good bartender.
Yeah.
You'll make a lot of money there.
People person.
He's like, you'll talk and you'll be fine.
Now, let me ask you this. While you're learning from these chefs and everything, is your intention to actually try to become a chef or just learn the ins and outs of the business?
Yeah, I wasn't really sure. I just kind of went into it with an open attitude. And I was like, if at some point we can open a restaurant, I figure out where I fit in.
Yeah.
And, the one other thing Paul told me he was like, look, you're 30. I mean, I was like maybe 33 at the time.
How old are you right now?
41.
Okay.
So I was like 33 at the time. He's like, or maybe 31, 32, 33, something like that. And he goes, by the time you're good enough to be a chef, you're going to be like close to 4. Like he was like, not that it's going to take you 10 years to be a chef, but by the time you're like looking to
really be prepared and really be experienced.
Yeah. You get your graduate and your master's and, in the culinary world, there's going to be 25-year-olds that are running circles around you.
For sure.
He's like, so I don't think you're going to be a chef. And I kind of saw that and I was like, I don't think I want to be a chef. Like, after working with, seeing how many hours they put in, it's a tough gig, man. Like you gotta be really passionate about food, and
for sure, it's chaos.
You gotta love it.
Chaos.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's so tough.
Organized chaos back there.
Yeah, man. And the guys that do it well, like manage, like they always say, like the hardest thing about management is managing people, and like some of the best communicators, some of the best people that are like able to work with different personalities, so open-minded, man, so inspiring. It changed it completely changed my my outlook on people, like how people interacted in kitchens. Like,
because there's so many different people,
so many different personalities, and like so many people that like they would give them everyone a shot. Everyone would get a shot, like you can get that job, like, but it's I don't know. So the chefs that I work with are really inspiring, but I did end up bartending too. I liked that, but I didn't really like getting people drunk.
Yeah.
Like thinking about that as a career. Like, it wasn't something I believed in. And so this is a tough spot in like maybe 2017. I have a younger brother who passed away. And
sorry to hear that.
Yeah, thank you. It was tough, man. It was unexpected. He was doing great as a college football coach. And it killed me, man. And I was bartending at the time, so I was drinking.
Yeah.
I was drinking from 4:00 till 2 a.m. like every day, and like it was bad, man.
Bad environment.
Yeah, my wife was great, man. She was so caring and like got me through it. And I didn't know what I was gonna do, but then an opening came up at Underground Butcher, and I was like, I got to get out from behind this bar.
Yeah.
And I went and got back into the butcher shop. And I met my friend Allie, who now lives here. Allie's from Wisconsin, and she and I like really bonded at the shop. You have a lot of time where you're sitting across the table like this, cutting meat. Like I was telling someone like I've been doing a podcast for the last like 20 years.
Yeah, I know, right?
No one's been recording it.
I know, that's really what these are, just conversations.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, like you said you were eager to get back in the butcher shop. Like, is that something that you gravitated towards? Like,
I think after a little while, you know, there was something about...
Well, what made you want to do that originally? Because that's kind of different, like, from being a chef.
Yeah, I think what it started with was, like, sourcing meat locally. Like, I would buy stuff at, like, farmers markets instead of grocery stores.
And you would see the difference of how good it is.
And I mean, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not as good.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
You know, like, but it tasted like something about the local tasting better. Like made it like when you shook a farmer's hand who was like, yeah, man, like I brought this down here and I raised this,
something
whatever.
Different than seeing it on a shelf in Giant Eagle.
Totally.
No offense to Giant Eagle, but
like they do what they do, and like, but there was something about it. And then when I went to the butcher shop and like you could see them breaking down whole animals in the shop, and like I would stand there and like look over the counter and like they would put like a whole pig head in the case, and I'd be like, I'll try it. You know what I mean? They'll give you a deal and try cooking something new, but.
You would try to cook pig heads?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Pig head, yeah. And I didn't know what I was doing. I just I got some meat out of the neck and made some tacos or something, but it was okay. But when I went back to the shop, and I think, so like, just to step back one more time, I grew up, my dad and my grandfather both are both barbers.
Oh, okay.
So I grew up going to the barber shop, and like my grandfather and my dad holding court in the barbershop, and I could never get a word in. And like, I would always have to wait till last in line. And all my uncles, same thing. Like they were like, we had to go down and sweep, and they're like, he'll give you $1 when you sweep. They used to only give us a quarter, and we had to shine shoes and all this shit. So I would go to the barbershop, and like, I loved that environment, and I kind of felt like the butcher shop was similar environment where like
foot traffic.
You just
turn around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're like,
I love it.
You're leaning on the counter, talking to somebody, someone comes in, buys something else, the guy's still standing there, and you're just like, shooting shit. It was a great environment at Underground. It was pretty chill. And what they were doing, like there were some very talented guys and very talented people in there that were, they learned all over the place. Some people worked at Whole Foods prior to. Some people went and studied in Italy to learn how to butcher. We were making all kind of sausages ourselves. And
well, let me ask you this: you said that this was a whole animal shop.
Yeah.
Now, what is the difference? Like, talk me through the differences of what type of shops there are.
Yeah, I guess a whole animal shop is where you try and focus on bringing in only whole animals. And by whole animals, they're processed at like a USDA, certified facility.
But utilizing all the parts.
Yeah, you bring in everything.
Yeah.
So you want it in as larger pieces as possible and not butchered or like cut up at the processor. So you could buy stuff, like I could theoretically just go to a processor and buy just loins, which is like ribeyes and New York strips, and bring that in and cut those up and sell them and not have all the rest of the animal and not have to worry about it.
Yeah.
And it would make my job a lot easier.
Yeah.
Someone like, we joked about this, like why we're doing this. And like, there was a John F. Kennedy quote whenever he talked about going to the moon, not that we're doing anything that difficult, but they're like, where he's like, we don't do things because they're easy. We do things because they're hard. And like, it's rewarding, you know what I mean? And when you can utilize everything on the animal and it's local, it's more sustainable. It's not going to save the world or anything, but it's like, you feel a little bit better about it. I definitely felt much better about doing that than I did selling alcohol, you know? And, you get to be a part of somebody's like party or somebody's, dinner or something, like nothing big. You get regulars that come in during the week. It's just kind of cool. And whole animal is a challenge. It's definitely a challenge to utilize everything. Not everyone wants to braise beef shanks for 5 hours, but you get 4 beef shanks every time you get a whole cow in, and they would figure out ways to use it and we would figure out ways to use it. And, I thought it was just a great outlet for creativity. It was a great, place to learn how to cook different things, how to talk to people. It was fun. And then, so after my brother had passed, I went to Underground. It was like, I chilled out on the drinking and like, just kind of focused on learning that and getting better at it. And then I was like, you know what? I think somewhere in and around there, I was like, I want to do this and bring this back to Pittsburgh.
A butcher shop.
Yeah.
And now,
I want to bring a whole animal shop back to Pittsburgh. And
at Underground, like that's where you're learning.
I mean, I was learning it before, like part-time at Underground when they had, and then I was learning at this restaurant called Gray's, which is owned by Tori Miller. He's like a James Beard award-winning chef, best chef in the Midwest.
Oh, wow.
He is the man. They had a butcher in the back of Gray's. His name was Jed. They called him the Jedi. And they would do everything in-house. And this was like tasting menu, like, like very, very meticulous, beautiful plates.
Yeah.
And so L'Etoile and Gray's share a kitchen. And L'Etoile is like this fine dining tasting menu. You're dropping $200, $300, $400. Like, everything's paired perfectly. Everything is executed like high level. And Gray's is kind of like more of a, they get 500 covers during brunch. Like everyone on the square goes there, but they get everything locally. And the local food scene in Madison was so powerful and so inspiring. Like the chefs would walk around with wagons and fill them up, bring them to the restaurant.
That's
cook
dope.
Everything there, man. Yeah, using as much local stuff as they could. They knew all the farmers. It was great. We went out to the farms when we were in Madison. We talked to pork farmers about raising like what they would feed their pigs. There was local cheesemakers that they would separate the curds and the whey, and they would feed the whey to the pigs. They would fatten them up, and then we would do like pig roast with those pigs and be able to talk to people about it.
Yeah,
it was a really cool like food scene there. And I was like, I want to bring this to Pittsburgh. Like, I really want to go home. I really wanted to go home.
Yeah,
and so I felt like that was, you know, something I could do. And
how long are you there full time?
At Underground full time?
Yeah.
Maybe 3 years.
Okay. So like how long do you think it took you to like get accustomed to like be able to walk around and not be, not have your hand held?
Dude. I mean, we would start on just doing breakdown days.
Yeah. So what did they start you on?
Whole breakdown.
What is that?
So breakdown day, for beef, if you do a whole animal, beef comes in 4 quarters. There's a forequarter, there's a hind quarter. There's 2 forequarters, 2 hindquarters. I'm going to just show you this real quick while we're talking, but I did this yesterday, and I'm going to put this like on the Instagram. I did a time lapse over the course of like an hour, and this is me breaking down a forequarter of beef. So that's the forequarter on the table, and that thing's about 200, 220, 250, depending on the cow that week. And so that's me breaking down the entire forequarter down into retail cuts. Usually what you do is you start someone on the hind quarter. The hind quarter is the back leg. They take off the New Yorks. You take off the New Yorks, the tenderloins, and then the sirloin, and then the round is the back leg. And that is just big muscles, big seams. It's easy to sort of start people on because all it is seam butchery, where you're cutting in between the muscles. You're only cutting the fascia.
Can't damage a bunch.
Yeah, there's not a lot of money in the.
That's crazy looking that video.
Yeah, so that's good. We're gonna put that up on the Instagram one of these days soon. I just did that yesterday. Yesterday is an exhausting day, but so I would be there. So that's when we're fully staffed in our shop now, and so they would bring me in just for that day and just help with breakdown. Yeah, like we need hands to help with breakdown, carrying this.
How many people?
5, 6.
That to break down a whole cow.
I've done it with 2.
And that's probably a beast.
That's a long day.
Yeah, like how long? Like if you have 2 people, how long will it take you to break down a whole cow?
Depends. If like Allie and I have done it before, and Allie's as fast as I am, we could break down the forequarter in an hour. We could break down. It's going to take 4 hours.
Okay, yeah. I just wanted like some sort of a timeline
without taking too many breaks. I mean, it would probably take us 6, but it's very physical. It's very heavy. All those pieces are real heavy, and you're lifting and like letting stuff hang. And
for
doing
sure.
It on a table is different than doing it on a hook, which is they call it like on the block. So we do it on the table, and all with hand saws, no band saws.
Why is that?
You can be a little bit more precise. You can do it more custom, exactly how you want to,
rather than like a saw going a little bit too far. Yeah.
So you only want to saw through bone, and you want to use your knife to cut through meat. So if you see like a big ribeye section, that gets cut and sent to whatever grocery store or whatever. They take the spine, cut that along a bandsaw, and then they just run it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, cut steaks.
Yeah.
And they cut straight through the meat using a saw, and that creates like a lot more, like you've cut yourself with a knife versus cutting yourself with like a saw blade or something that's rusty, or or something jagged.
Yeah.
And it creates more damage. So it oxidizes faster. So you cut with a knife so that it has like a nice
cleaner cut,
cleaner face. It's going to cook better, everything else.
Wow.
So, I learned all that at Underground, and then it was trying to figure out how to get back to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and what's that like? Like what is your process? Or is your wife living? Are you and your wife living together now?
Yeah. It was her not being happy with her job when we were in DC that got us, out of there and going to Madison. And, I was happy. She was going through grad school and she was happy. She was following, more of her passion.
But she was down to move back here?
She was down to move back here. She's from Chester, West Virginia.
Oh, okay.
Not far from here.
Yeah, not far from here, though.
Right. And so we were like, we could be closer to family and everything. And she was working at UW in Wisconsin, Madison, or University of Wisconsin, and was like, it's a much larger university than Pitt. Maybe I can get in at Pitt because I have this good resume now.
Yeah.
And so she was able to get a job at Pitt.
Ah, dope.
In 2020. So she flew back here February 2020, right? Pandemic time, and we didn't know anything what was going on.
Yeah.
Underground closed. Underground Butcher closed in Madison. I started working with my buddy Jake at this brewery called Octopi. We started like a sausage program there, and then we all got laid off and got put in the brewery. And so we were like working on canning lines.
Wow.
Not sure where we were going, but I was like, but Katie had a job interview at Pitt. And I was like, if you get that job at Pitt, we're moving back and I'm opening a butcher shop. And we're doing it. Like I, sharpened the pencils, took a look at the business plan again. I'm asking all my friends that have lived here. I'm like, what neighborhoods, where are we going? And some of my friends still wanted me to be in the north side. And
what made you choose Lawrenceville?
A couple of them told me try and find a place in Lawrenceville. I was like, we ended up, a friend of a friend had an apartment or a house available for rent in Upper Lawrenceville that I was like, we're not going to be able to afford it. And then they cut us such a deal. And so we have it's in like an alley, but it's like a 2-story house or with an attic that's like nice and finished.
Yeah, so it all kind of lined up.
Yeah, so like we ended up living in that neighborhood. And then little sidebar, I tore my meniscus like the day before we drove back to Pittsburgh. So I'm like, I can't like move my knee. I couldn't pack. My wife is this big.
How'd you do that?
It was torn from jiu-jitsu, I think.
Yeah.
And then as I was like moving, I just like, I didn't even do anything weird.
Twisted wrong?
Dude, just hit the deck. It was brutal pain. So I had to have surgery like a couple months after I got back. But so I was on crutches whenever I moved in. I didn't know the neighborhood, but my friends were like, Lawrenceville, Bloomfield, like Garfield. I think that East End, like you'll like that spot. And I would, walk through the cemetery up to Bloomfield, Garfield, just walk around there. I mean, I could walk after I was off crutches. And and then my wife, Katie, and I would drive around and we would look at all the storefronts. And like, I reached out to every like community development group. I emailed everyone in the city except Peduto at the time. I think I emailed everybody like, where do you have like, what can I do to like, I'm looking for a space. Do you have any like resources? I was calling just all the, Howard Hanna or whoever numbers. I looked at like 3 or 4 different places in Lawrenceville, Bloomfield, Garfield. I just looked, I probably looked at like 10 spots actually. Over on the north side, over on like Western Ave. And then my landlord who I have now was introduced to me through, there's a pet shop across the street from where we're at called Lawrenceville Pet Supply. Eric is the owner there, and he reached out to me and asked if he could introduce me to my landlord, whose name's Michael, because they were building this building. It's a brand new building. And I was like, yeah, sure. So I went and talked to Michael, and his depth of knowledge about the neighborhood. There used to be a butcher shop on this block. It was called Furlan's, and then it was called Foster's, and then it was called Union Provisions across the street. They used to slaughter animals, and you had all these like newspaper clippings from like back in like the 80s that talked about these places that had been in business since like the late 1800s. It was like one of the first buildings on the block was a butcher shop in like that neighborhood.
Wow.
Yeah. So it'd been a butcher shop on the 5100 block of Butler Street for like over 100 years.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard of Union.
Yeah, and there's like all these old guys that come in the shop and they're like, we were kids and we used to like peek through the fence and watch them kill the cows and all this shit. It's hilarious. Yeah.
Jesus.
So once I met him and he was like, I think it'd be good karma to open a butcher shop in this space. And so we went through the feasibility studies with like architects, engineers, and does it work?
How was the space?
It was brand. It was empty. It was empty. It was just a concrete slab in the back and
but I mean, was it built up for like, for refrigeration type?
No, he said he was like, they just built it out partially. They only poured the floors because they were like, we're not sure what's going to go in here, but it's a clean, dry basement.
Yeah.
And they were like, maybe if a bar would go in here or something, but
Well, what does it take to have a butcher? Like, do you have a big refrigeration?
Yeah, we have a walk-in in the basement. It's
like how big is that?
I think it's 7 feet by 17 feet.
Okay.
But the thing that I wanted to do was have the ability to cook. So have a restaurant sort of like quality to our food.
Yeah.
And we weren't able to do like the sit down because we didn't have enough space to have multiple bathrooms. So like building codes and all that stuff. So that was like the feasibility study. Does this space work for what I wanted to do?
Yeah.
Which I think having the ability to cook is almost like imperative in a whole animal shop, because if not everyone is buying all the beef shanks,
you got to be able to use it.
You got to be able to use it. You got to be able to make stock. You got to render fat.
Yeah.
You got to cook. So we started looking at, the hood sizes and how we'd get ductwork down into the space, and then where the refrigeration would be. And it was different than I had initially expected, but it was the right amount of square footage. It was in the right location, the right person for landlord who was supportive of it. And, I found through a company called Score Pittsburgh. So Score Pittsburgh is a nonprofit that helps young entrepreneurs work through their business. They do business management consulting for free. And for free. Yep. And I got a mentor.
What is the benefit to them?
They do sell some classes online.
Okay.
And they have some of that, but they're funded by, I believe, the SBA.
Okay.
And so the mentor that I got is named Kathy Ellis.
Well, I'm sure, yeah. Kathy, how do you even hear about these things? Like these resources?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I was looking through, I was looking for like business management consulting because I knew I was like close. I had done it for long enough, but I had been out of that for a number of years. And like, I'm looking at my like finances, and I put together projections, but in order to get an SBA loan approved, you have to have like first 3 years projected plus like every month, and like you have to have all
the details,
all the details. Never did,
plus the cash flow, all that.
Yeah, you have to have and so exactly. And I'm like, I didn't know how to do that. And Kathy like guided me through it. All the projections. We got data from the Carnegie Library, which is free. If you get a library card, you can download all this stuff. Merchant Intellect is like their reports on all these different businesses every year. And so we got like demographics on all the different neighborhoods in the East End. And it just made sense to be more in the East End than the North Side. Yeah. Because there were spots I was looking at. I was very close to, signing leases in the North Side. Like, because I love that neighborhood. And some of my best friends like live there, and I'm like, dude, it'd be so cool. We could like walk to,
Where were you close to signing leases at over there?
Over on Western.
Okay.
Just off Western. There's a pub kind of on the corner, and there's like a spot just in between.
Western is the road that Atta Coffee's on.
I don't know that spot.
It's like Nikki's Thai. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So this place is like right across the street from the Modern Cafe.
Yeah, I know exactly where you're talking
so
about.
So it's on that side street. There was a spot, not on Western, but like the right catty corner or whatever.
I know what you're talking about.
There and over on East Ohio, where there's like it's like close to Cedar. Yeah, there's a couple spots that one of my friends owns, and with Fig and Ash being over there, and there's Sempriago's, and there's other cool spots like on that block. I thought about it, but it wasn't the right time. It wasn't the right space at that time. And knowing about the old butcher shop.
Yeah, I was going to say that's dope. I feel like that has to be. Oh, dude, it's like a calling, right?
I'd go into the old shop and like look around and like, how the hell were they doing all this in here? They still have the smoker in the back. They have this big pneumatic sausage stuffer in there. It's crazy. Yeah. So, so once we found that spot, it was like, this is the spot, I think, and
now when did you choose that spot compared to like how long you had to build out before you opened? Because you said you opened in November.
I opened in November.
When did you decide on that spot?
So we opened November 2022. I started working with Kathy in February of 2021.
Okay.
And we put together the business plan. We pitched it to Enterprise Bank in the summer. And with that spot in mind, or actually with a different spot in mind that was farther down, lower Lawrenceville, or like maybe in the 40s. It didn't work out.
What do you mean it didn't work out? As far as like the loan people didn't think that worked out? Oh, okay.
The loan, they were like, we like the concept, but if this is the spot you choose, you need to like you give like a projection based on how much you're going to need.
Yeah.
They're not signing the loan that day, but they'll be like, yeah, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
And then you come back with actual bids and actual plans and actual lease.
Yeah, of how much the shit is going to be,
right.
and they can reevaluate.
Right. So in between that first and the second is when we were like, this isn't the right spot.
Okay.
The spot in Upper Lawrenceville is the right spot.
Yeah, it was set up a little bit better to do what you wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we figured once we found out that was the spot, by September, we got approved for the loan. And then at that point, we had to get drawings done. So from October through January of 2021, we got the drawings submitted. So we got all the actual bids back.
Yeah.
Formalized, finalized. In February, we got, we were starting to select contractors. All the bids were way over budget. We're not sure how we were going to possibly get it done. But then the contractor one that didn't bid, I had 6 bids come back, and I think they were almost a third over like our original estimate. And so
Jesus,
but the one that came in late was Engine House, and there's these guys over at Engine House. It's a small contracting firm over in I want to say Homewood area, and they came in and they were like, we can value engineer this. We have other contractors. And I was like looking at being the GC myself. Like,
yeah,
I'm like talking to electricians and I'm talking to plumbers and, HVAC guys, and like I'm getting bids from them.
Yeah. Putting it all together yourself.
Yeah. And I'm like, might be the only way we can afford it. And, but the guys at Engine House did a great job. They were like, we can help you. We can get you there at that price. And they had the time to do it at the time. So, credit to them. They nailed it. They finished just about on time and definitely on budget.
Wow.
And their subs are great. And we got the equipment, lined up.
Now, how long are you off from cutting meat up?
From the end of beginning of 2020.
Yeah.
Until
November 2022.
About October.
Yeah, October.
So we finished the build out in September, and then I brought in the first couple people throughout this process. I was talking to my buddy Jesse. Jesse Barless is a chef. He has 20 years experience, and I met him through a chef that I worked with in Madison. He's from Virginia. He's lived in Pittsburgh for the last 7 years.
Okay.
He had a pop up. His last pop up was called Bodega off Butler, and they were doing pop up breakfast burritos at Lawrenceville Distilling on the weekends during COVID. Before that, I think he was at he was at the Thunderbird with our buddy Tony G, and they were doing Black Sheep barbecue at the Thunderbird. And, but when COVID hit, no more concerts.
Yeah, all that shit slowed down.
Yeah, so
stopped.
Jesse had a restaurant at Smallman Galley before that, and so he was used to sort of working on his own, and he's very industrious and really smart. And we did during the build out time, we took a trip out to Cleveland to do some market research. There's a couple butcher shops out there that are doing whole animals, Ohio City Provisions and Saucy Song. It's 2 small shops, but they're doing what they do really well, and they took a lot of time out of their day to talk to us about everything, from sourcing to what works, what they need, what we need to make sure we do.
Yeah.
The biggest thing they said was educating your customers as to what are these weird steaks that we've never heard of, and how do I cook it?
Yeah, hell yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. So figuring out how to use some of the beef that you aren't going to be able to sell every single week.
Now, at that point in time, if you had to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 5 of your knowledge to be able to do that,
yeah,
where would you say you were at?
I mean, I would say that I was. 4.
Okay,
3 or 4. I was pretty damn confident.
Okay,
habitually overconfident, though. I'll tell you that.
I feel like you need to be
A little bit. I think if you're gonna take a risk, you
fake it till you make it.
you got
Yeah.
Yep.
No one wants to hear about someone who's just like,
When we go and like actually cook in the shop and stuff, like everyone, like most of the staff who's there can cook circles around me because I don't have that much restaurant experience.
That's all right.
But I do know how to butcher, and I can go fast, and I did learn. One of the things that we did in Madison was they were like, if you're going to be a butcher here, you got to be able to talk about every single steak. So you have to eat every single steak. You have to cook your way through the entire animal.
Wow.
And that took 2 or 3 years, but now we're here, and I've definitely had them all. I've tried them all. I've cooked them different ways.
Yeah.
Experimented with all these other cuts. Like, can we use this? This little muscle off of here. Have you guys ever tried to cook that? And we were like, no. I'm like, I tried it this way. And then. And
so you got to be well versed to be able to, have that experience to communicate it to your customers.
Yeah. And teach people too. So like I taught my first class Monday. I did a whole hog butchering class. I had 6 students. We didn't advertise it, but we had just people reach out to us, and we were like, all right, we'll schedule something. And I want to try teaching it to a group of people that have never done it before.
Dude, I'm kind of pissed that I didn't know about it. I'm like, I hit up my buddy who's a chef, and I was like, yo, whenever you do this pig roast, let me come down. I want to learn how to do it. Went down there, did it. Like, I'm all for it, dude.
I'll let you know. You get the next one.
I appreciate
the first
that.
slot in the next one.
For sure.
I'll definitely do it again. But yeah, man, it took a while, and like it took a lot of luckily you can watch a lot of stuff on YouTube as well as like learn from butchers. There's our library at the shop is like pretty good in terms of like reference books on how to butcher, because that was what we kind of used a lot.
Did each person butcher a whole pig?
No, we did one. So if I break down like 2 pigs, it'll take like a half hour. Like I could do it. I can break down pigs real quick and just get them off the table. This is funny actually. But so I did a 2-hour class on 1 pig. So I walked everyone.
Yeah, slow through it.
Yeah, but the thing that happened that was funny was I was texting one of the guys to get the delivery, and I was talking about turkeys the night before, and I was like, "Yeah, you have turkeys?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Let's just get 2 tomorrow, send them down, and we'll figure it out from there." Because we just want to like maybe make more smoked turkey breasts, butcher a couple of turkeys, and do some like turkey confit. So if we can source some local turkeys throughout, it doesn't have to be Thanksgiving, so we'll get some. He sent 2 pigs instead of 1 pig. So 15 minutes before this group of people comes in the shop, my wife's making sandwiches for everybody. I got gift bags for them and stuff. And I'm like, well, there's 2 pigs. And he goes, yeah. I go, oh shit. I was like, I barely got enough room in the walk-in for 1 pig.
Yeah.
And now I can't put 2 pigs on the table in front of like, what are we going to do? So, I mean, I just got after it. And like in like 15 minutes, like just, I'm running up and down the steps. I'm carrying, I'm cutting. You can break it down into quarters like pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But these guys are going to be here in 15 minutes. So I like cut it, running down the steps, running back and forth. And then now we have 1 pig on the table. Everyone comes in. I'm sweating. I'm like, so it's a little messy here now because I just broke down another pig. They accidentally sent 2, but it was great. We worked that out just about 2 hours. Everyone got to get hands on it. We talked all the way through the shanks and deboning everything, cutting with a saw. We even cut some chops with a cleaver. It's
that's cool.
Yeah, and then everyone took home a couple sausages, a couple chops, some pork belly, and
that's awesome.
Hopefully they'll report back.
Yeah, that's cool. You do that.
I think. Yeah.
Now, whenever you started the shop here, you said that you brought people over from Wisconsin. Is that true?
Yeah. So Jesse was the first person that I had talked to when I moved back to Pittsburgh, and he was doing that bodega off Butler, and we started talking about, I was like, dude, I'm opening a butcher shop here, and he's like, oh yeah, there used to be a shop, and he knew the neighborhood, and seriously, we just became friends, and like he helped me work through all the ins and outs of how we would run the kitchen, run the restaurant part of the butcher shop.
Yeah,
and it just timed out right that he was able to like sort of come on board with me on this.
Yeah.
During that time, Allie, who was one of the first people I had met at Gray's, where she was working as a chef, and then she went over to the butcher shop before I did, and then I went over to the butcher shop. We kind of knew each other. Like,
yeah, you said you two were cool.
Yeah, we bonded and became friends, and she and her partner had moved out to Portland, Oregon during the pandemic, and didn't really like it. And she messaged and was like, heard you're going to open a butcher shop. And I was like, I am. And she was like, if you're doing that, I'll come. And like, or where are you doing it? I'm like, Pittsburgh. She's like, I'll come to Pittsburgh. I was like, are you serious? And she was like, yeah. She's like, we were thinking about moving closer to M's family. And like, I've never lived out east anywhere. Like I've always been in Wisconsin. We wanted to go out west. We don't really like it. We like to go close to the East Coast, but not too far from Ohio and Wisconsin is where their families are. And I was like, Al, I'm like, if you come out here, like, absolutely, like, let's do it. And like, so we would have like Zoom calls with like me, Jesse, and then Allie and Emily.
You're just figuring shit out.
Figuring it out, yeah. And then they moved here in, I want to say September, October, like right before we opened. And I mean, maybe it was closer to July. And then, so we had a couple of months, like as we were like finishing the build out.
Yeah.
Allie was working at Morcia for a little while, and Emily was working over at Butterwood. And we would meet at the shop while construction's going on, sitting on buckets, looking over stuff, planning, talking about farms, talking about processors. And we're like, and then there was two other guys who were going to work, Justin and Nikki. And Justin had a major back problem. He couldn't leave his job because he needed surgery.
Yeah.
And where he was working was has like health insurance.
Yeah.
And but he's a experienced butcher, and but he hadn't done whole animal. Another guy named Nicky, he ran Marty's Market, which was down in the Strip District, maybe about 10 years ago. And they were a whole animal shop. It was like a grocery store, but he had like the butcher side. He managed that.
Okay.
So Nicky was going to come on. Nicky tore his rotator cuff, so now he's out.
Oh shit!
So now I'm down 2 butchers like a month before, and I'm like, how am I going to get anyone with experience?
Well, let me ask you like some logistics about this. So like if it's you and 2 other people, right? Or you and 3 other people right now, right?
Yeah.
Now, I mean, how many people did you ideally need? 6?
I thought we would need 5 to start. So it depends on how many animals a week you're bringing in.
Yeah. How do you even,
you scale the business based on cows. That's the biggest mover. Like that's the biggest.
Well, even before that, how do you make a projection of what you're even going to do?
You like it's
come up on that mic a little bit, please.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No, so you're good.
It is what we did through like Merchant Intellect, like studying those reports. You look at like beef costs. You look at University of Penn State has done studies on like what is your yield per cow. Like so, when you break down one cow, what does that yield if you're doing it a certain way, right? And then you look at what the market, sort of like what people are paying for beef in certain areas. And then you look at I looked at another like a profit and loss from Underground that Johnny Hunter, who's the owner of that place, was nice enough to send me as they were looking to expand into another one. So you just do like, and we did, demographics, at what point can we capture X% of like the market of people that buy meat in the East End.
Just cross research on a bunch of different data.
Yeah. And
the more you know, you know, the better you're going to be able to guess.
So I was thinking we were going to start with a half a cow a week.
Half a cow a week. Now how many pounds is that?
Anywhere from like, so about like anywhere from like 400 to 600 pounds.
Okay.
And so you do that, and you buy it at say $3 to $5 a pound, and then you sell it at a blended rate of say $12 to $15 a pound.
Yeah.
Then you can come up with how much labor you have available to do that. But then the tricky part is figuring out the sandwich costs. So like that's where Jesse came in to like manage food costs in the kitchen. And his whole thing is like, let's not waste anything. Like we can turn it into something. Let's do it. And that's where you make money in a butcher shop, not necessarily the kitchen side, but value added products. So when you take something like ground pork or pork trim, it's not worth much. It's if you bought it at $3 a pound, you probably can't even sell it for $3. If you buy the whole pig for $3 a pound, all the chops will sell for X number of dollars, and then the trim isn't worth anything until you grind it, mix it, add salt, seasonings, turn it into sausage, case it, and then that's a value added.
Yeah, but that's a lot more labor.
It's a lot more labor, but if you can get it, if you can be efficient at it.
Yeah, if you're efficient, then that's where
right. So there's definitely more money in like just doing value added products, just buying and not having like you just buy in ground pork at $3 a pound and then sell it for $8. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But doing it whole animal style, it's a little bit trickier. But we did
once you figure it out, it's a good process.
Yeah, it's a process that I enjoy, you know, and like that's what. So
you said a half a cow. Now, besides for a half a cow, what else do you carry?
So we
at that time.
So we were going to bring in 1 to 2 pigs a week.
Okay.
1 lamb a week, and then maybe about 20 chickens, and we were just selling chickens whole.
And just seeing how, and like obviously, you know, just opening up, you're going to see how that goes.
Yeah, but 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, we're also trying to get turkeys.
And so like I'm talking
to,
right?
Yeah, so I'm talking to
right before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, dude. So I'm talking to turkey farmers, and I'm like, when should I have put in these orders? And they're like
last year.
They're like August.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, cool. Can we get like a couple dozen if you have them? Like whatever, we'll try and sell them. Hopefully people are going to come in and want turkeys. And that's what we did. And then we made smoked turkey breasts and we confit the legs. Like we only had like 3 left over.
That's
so
great.
It was pretty good. And just another thing. So like all these guys, these two people got hurt and couldn't come in. I get a message from this guy on Instagram. And he's like, yeah, I used to work at a butcher shop in New York and, have a resume of fine dining, sends me a message. And he's like, I'll bring you a beer down. Let's chat. If there's anything I can do to help, I love that the idea of a butcher shop is opening up in the hood. And so he comes down and brings a beer and we talk shop. And I'm like, I don't know, he seems like a chef, you know. And the butcher shop he worked at is called the Meat Hook. It's like one that I've followed forever. And had one of their books, like the Meat Hook book is one we looked at in the shop in Underground. Like we always looked up to them. They're a whole animal shop in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. And they're run by a guy named Brent Young, who's from the North Hills.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I've been keeping in touch with him. He actually came over Christmas and came and he was slicing pastrami and stuff in the shop. It was awesome. So Adam is a student. He's like, could I help you out? He's like, I've been doing like bookkeeping work. I got out of cooking and he's got a crazy story, but, I was like, yeah, man, like, I think if you know how to butcher, like that is, we definitely need some help off the bat. Like our guy was going to be like one of our head butchers is out. The only people I know that know what they're doing here is me and Allie, in terms of the butcher side. And we definitely need more hands than that opening right before Christmas.
Yeah.
So he came in, we ended up hiring a couple other people that were like part-time, moving into full-time. Kayla, who has a good bit of fine dining experience, and another guy named Andrew, who moved down from Buffalo. He was looking to work at a whole animal shop. There's one that he worked at up in Buffalo called Mariarty's Meat, I think. And anyway, he's a talented chef as well, and learning whole animal butchery now too.
Wow!
So on breakdown days, we're
you're all back here getting
4 to 6, getting after it. Yeah, it takes a couple hours, clean it all up. Jesse's using everything from shanks. He has an amazing smash burger. We had someone who walked out today.
I think I saw a picture on Instagram, dude, right?
I've had people come, leave the shop and then come back in yelling, dude, that is the best sandwich. Like it's been,
I got to try it.
It's been like, oh man, I'm
a smash burger. I love them.
Yeah. Give it a shot.
I got to try. I got to come down and try it.
Can we do like a burger throwdown in the city and put this up against some people soon?
You got some, dude.
You got some competition. Yeah.
Very big competition.
We had someone call back the shop today after they were like, they're like, my name's Sam. I just left. I'm like, yeah. He's like, I had the burger. I'm like, okay. Like, what's up? How can I help you? He's like, dude, I just had to call you back. That was the best burger I've ever had. So
you can get them all the time?
Yeah.
You can get it all the time?
Yeah. The burger's been on the menu from day one. It's one of the lower price items on our menu because, we want to keep it accessible.
Come fuck with it.
Yeah.
I got to try it.
Give it a shot.
Now, I'm curious. I'm curious about all this because I feel like this is a whole different factor that we didn't even dive into yet.
Yeah.
But it is sourcing your products. So, for you to open this butcher shop, obviously you have to be dependable on the products that you have. They got to be quality and you have to have a dependable supplier.
Yeah.
What's your mindset and how do you approach that factor?
That was tough. That was one of the things that, other butcher shops and stuff have told us was like one of the hardest things to do is source. You want to source the best quality products, but you also want to be able to source something that's unique. Obviously my line in the sand is local. It has to be local 100%. We got to know the farmers, got to go out to the farms, shake hands with everybody, learn about the animals and all that stuff. That's all great. The product also has to be good too, you know?
Yeah.
So like you go from like looking at grass fed, grass finished, different breeds, reading through books about all these heritage breeds. The variability on pork is just incredible. It's like in terms of like the actual price too, price of feed and stuff like that, and different breeds, how much they yield, whether the loin is, bigger, smaller, bigger shoulders. A lot of pork is bred for commercial use now, and like they live in these feedlots. They never touch grass. They never see sunlight, and that is the opposite of what we want. Like we want, but that comes at a price, right? Even with like just with chickens, like we've had people say like they've lost almost 50% of their stock to predators. You know, they're like the foxes around here are big as hell,
crazy.
But it's a big ask for me, someone opening a new business, to ask a farmer that if I want I wanted to do a half a cow to start and then hopefully work up to a whole cow a week. And that's like the plan. We are supposed to open in February and slowly get up to a cow a week by summertime, not open in November and be doing a cow and a half, right before the holidays, like in 4 weeks with, all new staff. So it is what it is. But thinking about it, like I wanted to do a half a cow a week to start and then get up to a whole cow a week. So asking a farmer to raise, 25 to 50 cows for you, just for you, is a big ask. You know?
For sure.
I had farmers and processors look at the business plan. I went up, met with them all the time, went to different farms. The greatest networkers that really helped us out, I wouldn't say the greatest networkers, but like the greatest, like the first and most helpful farmers that we met were Jake and Desiree from Fallen Aspen. And they're up near Slippery Rock, or near Grove City, right near Grove City. And they introduced us to beef farmers, other pork farmers. They had a harvest party at their house, and they invited us up for it. And we camped out in the yard, and they had a big bonfire, and they were cooking chickens and all this stuff. And they were like, you need to talk to these guys.
I got to talk to those people.
Yeah. They're great. We were just at the farm on Monday, laying in the hay.
Oh, those are the people that you were talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, I got to get with them for sure.
Yeah. We were laying in the hay. There's piglets all over the place. Just 2 days ago. We also went to the beef farm.
I feel like it's interesting what you're saying about like how it needs, you got the line in the sand of it being local, because like, you see so much like, honestly just fucked up shit online as far as like, you obviously you see the bleak side of, the meat industry. Yeah. And, I feel like you being like pretty much adamant about trying to source everything as local as you can is like what makes people want to like kind of go back to this like community aspect of like this small local mom and pop type of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's interesting because you're saying like, oh yeah, it goes into sourcing like all these different breeds, all these different, all that, like, did you already have like a mindset with this business plan as far as like breeds and like, things like that? Is it that detailed?
It is. I mean, but it also is based on experience that other butcher shops that have come and gone have, that like you can be idealistic and like say, we're going to be able to sell, pork that we're buying at like $9 a pound. And what are you going to charge, then $20 for a pork chop?
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's going to be
like,
tough.
Yeah, it's good quality, but are people going to spend that much?
Yeah. And like, so you got to be able to find a balance, if you're going to get pork that has like a, smaller loin. Some of these heritage breeds have smaller loins and larger fatbacks because they not heritage breeds, but some of the more commercial breeds do that because they're bred for making sausages, right?
Yeah.
So like most pork, you see these pork loins in the grocery store that are like in a package, like with mesquite marinade,
100%.
But everything is just getting turned into hot dogs and sausages and stuff on the commercial market, like the Smithfield or whatever. So
you're saying that loin, they're just getting that loin, and the rest of the shit is turning into sausage and everything.
Dude, that's the same with beef too. Like you see ribeyes, you see New Yorks and stuff in the grocery stores or wherever else, and everything else is going to McDonald's and the ground beef. And like, I mean, I know Anthony Bourdain said something like, years ago about like, he's not even really that impressed with steaks anymore because like, it doesn't take that much. It's just convenient, but convenience is convenience is where people like invest, or like they put their money into stuff that's convenient. If
Absolutely.
it's convenient, people will spend money on it. So, I don't know where I was going with that, but like, yeah, there's something more to, taking the whole animal and using all these other pieces. When people like, and we've had such cool customers since we've opened up, like really adventurous eaters, like really adventurous cooks. And like, we always share the stuff on our Instagram because it's like inspiring. It's like keeps us going, like people were buying like beef shanks and like smoking them and like, braising them, put them in pots, and like, it's a centerpiece of like someone's like house party or whatever. And it's like really cool. And like people were coming in and being like, do you have any steaks? And I'm like, and they're like a ribeye. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, we have ribeyes. We dry age them right behind me. You can see them. But I'm like, these are all also steaks. This Terry's Major, the underblade, the ranch steaks that we like.
I've never heard of any of those.
Right.
So those are all different cuts.
They're all different cuts. They're all different. Like, so what we do is seam butchery. So we break down individual muscles, and like the USDA, it was maybe in like 96 or someone did a study on the flavor and the tenderness of every single muscle in the entire animal. And they found all these little unique cuts. I think the chuck is like the best example of this. So like the chuck, people always think of a chuck roast, and like it's like this big flat thing, has bones in it. And what they do is they take the chuck, which was like the last piece that you saw me on that video, and they would just run it through a bandsaw, and it would sell for a very low price per pound, like maybe $3-5 a pound. But there's all these little muscles in there, the underblades in there, the flat irons in there, and if you seam all those out individually with a knife, and you clean off the silver skin, the fascia that lives around the muscle, they're great steaks. There's gems in there. Like,
now, why do you think that? Why do you think that it's not like a more utilized thing? Because it's more labor intensive to do.
It's more labor intensive. Yeah, like people either don't want to do it, or like it's kind of just fallen out of practice.
Yeah.
I mean, the reports that I've read through,
it doesn't sound cost effective for like someone like a commercial type of, like a meat factory to break down all these different little things whenever they could just bandsaw it.
Yeah, they can automate it, they can automate all of it.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So doing it by hand, you have to learn, you have to be efficient at it, and it's tough. It's a lot of work, but if you can do it right, you can do it. And like, there are places that are doing it. We met, shop owners. The Meat Hook has been doing it in Williamsburg for the last like 13 years, these places out in Cleveland have been doing it, but there was a couple of shops in and around Pittsburgh that were doing it, but I just don't know if they were in the right place, the right time, if they might've had staffing issues. I have no idea. Like, I think there's a ton of people that are capable of doing it, but I don't know that many people really just want to do it.
Do you notice any sort of like, almost not really like maybe like a cultural shift in all of us that, it's not really necessarily just, quickness and convenience of things, but like, are like the younger generations are kind of like more in tune with like the homesteading and the, like the want to have these like different cuts of meats and like try, like my dad is 65, he doesn't give a fuck about a Wagyu, give him a nice strip at Delmonico or something.
Right.
But it's like other people want to try like, oh, I want this weird ass, A5 Wagyu. I want to try all this. And like, I'll spend like, I myself will spend, money to like try some good food, where it's like, the older generations, I feel were like, best bang for your buck. What could I make shake with this?
Yeah. I think I talked to my mom about this a while ago, and she was like, we almost, it kind of went out of fashion to go to like the butcher shop and stuff like that, because it was advertised that like TV dinners and stuff were cleaner. They were safer. It was like,
oh shit.
You know what I mean? And that was just marketing. But I mean, they're saying the same thing in modern reports. Like, what are ways that you see the meat industry going? And they're saying more prepackaged commercial cuts that are coming from a processor and not going to a grocery store in primals. So the way things typically do happen is a processor will break down the whole animal into like primals that can be vacuum sealed and shipped.
What is a primal?
Truck. So the quarter is the largest format that you can get a beef. Below that is a primal. Below that is a subprimal. Subprimals are part of the primal, and then there's individual muscles beneath that.
Okay.
And case ready or retail cuts. So a primal is like the next smallest after a quarter.
Yeah.
So those primals will get processed in a processing plant, vacuum sealed, maybe frozen and shipped to grocery stores or restaurants, places where they are going to do like sort of fabrication on the meat. Then they'll do some butchering in house, but they're not bringing in like the whole animal. But so like what the market trends are in the next few years, what the biggest CEOs of these like meat production plants are saying is that they're going to go even more towards packaging. So instead of sending primals, they're going to break them down further into like retail cuts and vacuum seal those and sell those to grocery stores. Because what that does is it cuts down on the number of hands that has to touch it.
Yeah.
So again, it's one of these things. It's like a safety thing. So most any like pathogens or like problems that have happened, like where people get sick from food, it happens mostly because of like people touching and like it's user error, right? It's not because like people are getting trichinosis from pigs, it's because someone, cross
contaminates.
Yeah. So everything in those environments is very sterile. And so we were learning a lot from one of the farmers up at Pasture Perfect, which is where we get all of our beef. And they were talking about like a large pig processing facility where the pigs like don't touch the ground. They have no natural immunity to anything because they don't live outside. They're born like basically in a lab and like just grown, and then it goes to
just stuck in a room.
Yeah. So like that's not good either. That's monocultures. Like if you have a bacteria that gets into there, then like it'll wipe out all of them. So they're in like hazmat suits raising these pigs, whereas we're climbing around in a barn, and that is, sort of looked at or marketed as more dangerous because they're dirtier or whatever. And then they go to a processor. So then a processor puts their hands on them to like harvest the pig.
Wow. That's so interesting how it's looked at differently like that.
Yeah. And I mean, that's big business. That's how they look at it.
Yeah.
They're not risking that,
They always try to fucking maneuver it some way.
Yeah. I mean, there's something to it. But
that's so weird though, to think about that. It's like, these pigs in a lab basically in hazmat suits, just getting raised, not having any sort of like, any sort of like rewarding feeling in their entire existence compared to these pigs that live a good life.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's crazy to think about that because the way that you just described it is so weird and skewed of how it could be looked at, where it's like, only one person's hand touches this meat. It's definitely it's safer.
Right.
And you're like, but Jesus, that's weird.
That's that TV dinner our parents ate.
100%, dude. And that's so crazy to think about that. And that's why, like, I feel like it's so interesting to, really like talk about stuff like this because, and that's why like the sourcing of everything is like really fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Because it's like obviously like a bleak part of it, but in this, in all this bleakness of, killing these animals and everything like that to provide for us, you want to do it with the most respect.
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah, if we're going to do that, like I want to know that those pigs and those cows, like they had one bad day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the end of their life, they weren't fearing for predators the whole time. You could walk up to them. They're not stressed.
Yeah.
When you walk into the barn at Pasture Perfect, like you lower your voice. They're very calm. They're a Black Angus cross with a Scottish Highland. Scottish Highland are a little bit smaller, but they have a better temperament. They'll walk right up to you and let you pet them, and they do that because it shows in the meat. Like it shows in the quality. If the cow lives a better life and they have a healthy diet, it's a better product. Like you should come down and see the steaks, and it is, and like you can meet the farmers. They come every Wednesday and they drop off and they tell us,
how do you guys get a half of a beef? Do they come down in like do they like come down in a refrigerated truck?
Yeah. And then we have a cart, a purple cart that we call Grimace that we roll out the back door.
Okay.
And then a couple of us will get on either side of each one of these quarters, which are anywhere from 200 to 500, like 200 to 300 pounds each quarter, and we get it off the cart and off the truck and onto a cart.
Onto
and we roll
Grimace.
it in, and then we put it onto a butcher block. It's maybe about 4 times the size of this table. But
wow.
The farmer, I guess, was joking with some of our staff the other day, and they were like, he was like, "Don't tell Steve," but some of those farm boys up there, they just put that whole thing on their back and carry it. I was like, "Dude, I'm not doing that."
Have you ever been around for like any of like the killings of these animals?
Yeah. I think it's important to see it.
100%. That's why that's why like I feel like it's important to even bring that up and talk about it.
Yeah, there's a humane. I can't remember the name of the. There was a writer who like and kind of inspired like the new humane harvesting, humane killing process, where it talked about like you would like hold up like signs or like things that like the cows would then like either walk away from or towards, so that you're not like cattle prodding, pushing them. They don't like to be pushed. They don't want to be pulled with like a ring in their nose. You know what I mean? Things like that. So like all of these like passive ways to maneuver a cow into a space where you can safely harvest them, and then they have this thing that hugs them from the sides. Yeah, you know, so that
it doesn't let them like
so they can't hurt themselves and they can't get stressed out, and then they just put a thing up to their head and
no
they're
country
gone.
for old men.
Yep, one of those guys. There's a guy called PA Butcher, I think, on Instagram, and he's a good follow. Like he goes out, and I think that's the best way to process animals, but you can't do it on a large scale, which he goes out to the field. He goes to people's homes and local farms, and he processes them on site. So the cow is just living its life on site. And sometimes they're sick. Sometimes they're, they have like a problem giving birth or something, and they have to, euthanize the cow early or something. They'll call this guy, and he'll do it, and he skins them, and he butchers everything himself and stuff. And I think it's really commendable. It's a lot of hard work, I'm sure. But I only sent him a message on Instagram like once, but he's, but I think that's as close to that as possible. If we could do that, I think we would. I think our farmers. Is that me? Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I thought I put it on silent. But
no, it was just vibrating. You could hear through the table.
Oh, gotcha.
I just set it on the pad so you can't hear it.
Okay.
But that's it. I mean, it's such like I don't know. It's like the worst part of it, obviously. But you were there, and like
I was
that's
there.
that's what they did.
Feet away. Yeah, and they just like
right there.
Yeah, hit it right in the head, and they do it 2 times. There's always a USDA inspector who's in there with a hard hat, and you're not really supposed to be there too close, but that's where you learn about it. You learn how they inspect the cow, what they notice about the age of it based on like the teeth and things like that. Like there's all of these little things that they pick up on, they perceive that you never really notice. But talking to processors is it's usually
a reason for everything.
Yeah, but talking to processors is sometimes they're a different breed. If they're doing that all the time, I think it affects some people differently, and I don't think I could do it all the time. I'm glad that someone's doing it. It's a tough job.
I don't know why. I mean, like, I don't even mean to laugh at it because it's grim, but like, I mean, I can imagine exactly what you're saying. Just like, I just think of the guy from No Country for Old Men. Yeah. Just completely bleak, kind of just like drawn away. Yeah.
There's been a few I've met who I'm like looking, they give you that, 100.
How are pigs harvested?
Same way. I
did that same tool.
Yeah, I did. I think if they're in a USDA processor, they sure are. But I've done one myself with friends of mine at my friend's at a farm in Wisconsin, and we shot it in the head with a 22. Yeah, and then he slit its throat so that it bleeds out. Yeah, so there's no like adrenaline or anything, and then we hung it, and you pour like water over it, and then you shave it with a knife.
Wow!
And then we took the skins. We made porchetta. I deboned the entire thing, and then we rolled the loin and the belly. Yeah. And made porchetta, and then we smoked the shoulders.
It's probably amazing.
Made hams. Yeah, it was our going wave party from Madison. It was the 4th of July weekend, like 3 days before we moved back to Pittsburgh. So actually, that was the last time I had done it, because we went out and we got a pig from a friend's farm, and we had a big 4th of July party during COVID.
That's awesome.
You're supposed to be limited to 25 people, and I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, that was the gray period.
It's weird times. Yeah.
Were you ever like a hunter or anything like that?
No, I fish. I'm very excited. My friends and I are probably texting me about first day of trout right now. Okay. I had to go get stuff at an auction for the shop last year, so I missed the first day of trout. Or I guess it was last year. So, I was driving down to like Mariana, like down near Washington, PA. Yeah. And, in a U-Haul with a buddy of mine, and, looking at these like pristine trout streams going, oh yeah, why the hell did they pick this day to have the auction? But,
that's rough.
Nah, never hunted. Never was into that.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. It's that's the only experience I've ever had with like butchering any meat is like killing deer, butchering them, and it's wild. It's definitely interesting because even even if I fish too. Even if I catch a fish and I come back and cook it, you have like a different relationship with it.
Yep. Definitely tastes different.
Pretty wild. So this kitchen end of it all down there, it's like that was always one of the plans. It's like you wanted to have like a restaurant end of it where you're cooking thing.
Yeah, I thought it would take a little bit of pressure off of us to like be able to have to educate everyone on like all these different cuts, because a lot of the trim and stuff, like we at Underground, we were selling 100 to 200 pounds of ground beef a week wholesale. Yeah, and so far we haven't had to sell any wholesale in our shop because we're able to utilize it all because of Jesse. Yeah. Makes like meatloaf. We have grab and go, like we're making shepherd's pie and putting it out so people can take and bake stuff. We have like empanadas. He made beef shank, what was it? Beef shank tamales at Christmas. And man. Yeah, we're curing all the briskets, or some of them. We're making pastrami, we're making corned beef, we're making ham, turkey, we're utilizing everything. We're making smoked pulled pork. We're making beef barbacoa, and all of those things are like in our freezer section. So you can just like come and grab something that's already made by us. And so having like the grocery section, the retail section, and then having that menu where Jesse can sort of look at what do we have? Roast beef. I'll make a roast beef sandwich, and it's incredible. Like we had all this beef barbacoa. He made a barbacoa on a torta. It's a great sandwich. He made a croque monsieur last week. It's a ham sandwich because we had a bunch of ham left over from Christmas. So he was like, I'll turn this into something great. And like, wow, it's dope, man. That's
awesome. It sounds really like, it sounds fun. Of the plan. It sounds fun to be able to like try to figure out a way to, be creative with all this stuff.
Yeah. And I think we got a really cool crew. We got a good crew. It's a good vibe in the shop. We were listening to Biggie today, and people were coming in and we're like, this, and then one old guy, like I can't remember what the hook was. It was like something. He was like, oh, I know this song. It was like some old song. We're like, oh, that's not the one you're thinking of, and then it kicks on. But yeah, I mean, people come in and they just they ask, this is the first time we're in. We're like, what brings you in? What do you want to grab a sandwich? You want to try out some of these steaks? And they go, oh, what's that? I've never heard of a ranch steak, or I've never heard of, we take like the pork loins and, we keep the bone on the rib, like, bone in pork chops. And sometimes we'll French them, and sometimes we'll make them, we'll make some really nice roasts. We'll tie stuff up. We'll experiment.
How do you feel like you're getting a lot of your customer base?
I think marketing through Instagram has been really big. We have a good, like Emily has been doing most of our like online marketing. We got some like professional photos taken at the very beginning. My friend Paul Luke, he trains at Stout. He's a musician in Pittsburgh. He's the mayor of Polish Hill, as we call him. He took some really nice shots. And then Matt Dyack, he works with he works right next side of Bootstrap Design. They're our graphic designer. Yeah. And Matt took some beautiful shots right before opening, and then we were able to take those and just caption them, put them out strategically. To be able to show people like some of the beautiful products that we're sourcing locally. Yeah. And,
so as a business owner that's opening a business there, it's like, what is your mindset as far as like, gaining a following? If you're just opening this new business that's a butcher shop, like how do you communicate that to people that might be getting their meat from Whole Foods and stuff like that? It's hard to like get people to break that habit because, it's hard to break your habit of your grocery store. It's hard to break your habit of wherever you're going.
I think that has to happen after one or two visits, so like you want to just try it. I was just really hoping to reach as many people as possible. So I would like follow a lot of people that were like food influencers. I would follow a lot of other restaurants. And I'd ask other people I knew that like had pretty good Instagram, like my boy Lonnie at Stout, they have this jiu-jitsu tournament called High Rollers where like...
Oh yeah, he's been on here.
Okay, nice. So I'm asking Lonnie, like, what do you do for like your marketing and stuff? And like, he's like, yes, like, there's some people that like you can give someone $10 or whatever and they'll repost you. Yeah. He's like, now how much is it going to take for you to get The Rock to repost you? Probably.
But that's different. Like so he's in a different situation. Right. That's a different situation.
But I was just like, what do you do? And he was
like just the message behind it.
Just film your stuff, be engaging, and like just be honest. Like and put it out there regularly. So Emily and I looked at like different Instagrams and we're like, these are things that I don't really like. And they were like, yeah, these are things I don't really like. And then we were like, I think we got this.
That's cool.
And then followed a lot of people. And then as people take photos of stuff that they buy from us and
word of mouth.
Yeah, that
starts
too.
Spreading.
Yeah, word of mouth starts spreading. And then once people come in and they try something, they might try something else. They go, oh, I didn't know you did this, you know? And like they might have saw a sandwich or something on Instagram and then they come in and they go, oh, you got like, you know, something else.
Just
and then,
give me a chance.
Yeah.
Give me a chance and we back.
Try this. Yeah. And then you know, we get a lot of love from the neighborhood. Like, so this is from the barbershop.
Yeah,
like
10th Ward
Barbershop, right? He gave me this as soon as we opened. I got you a hat. He gave, and then I got you some food in there too. But
oh man,
I wore this like we got on Pittsburgh Live, like the TV.
Pittsburgh Today Live.
Yeah. We got on there and we're like cooking pastrami sandwiches in the morning, and I'm like, dude, I got to wear.
Was Selena there?
I didn't see her. No.
Yeah, so like you went to there, you're cooking sandwiches for them on the thing.
Oh,
like, wow.
Yeah, dude, I was like taking shots of bourbon. I was so nervous. I took like 4 shots of bourbon at like 7 in the morning, and like I followed like all the Steelers, all the Penguins, all the Pirates. Like I followed everyone. Like I'm DMing like,
that's smart though.
I DM like all the dudes after the last game. Like, good season. You know, I got like a couple dudes that wrote me back, and they're like, we'll come down.
You know, I get what you're trying to do. Like that's the way to do it.
Yeah,
I mean, you gotta rub with some elbows.
Yeah, I'm trying. Honestly, I'm like trying to hit up all the Steelers and stuff, just because I grew up. Yeah, I love them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
why wouldn't you want them to be a patron of your spot?
Yeah.
Dude, it's like exactly. I'm doing good. I'm doing God's work down here. Come on down.
Come on down, dude.
Let me show you a way.
What's the tight end Gentry and Fryermuth? They have like a podcast. It's like it's about like grilling out or cooking and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And they were like, yeah, we just did it like during the off season, mess around. I'm like, dude, let me come down and bring some steaks. Like, let me do something, whatever.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah. So I mean, I get made fun of by our staff for like, you know, fanboying the Steelers and stuff, but like, it's whatever.
Fuck it. I was you fanboy. I
mean,
you're here. That's fanboy.
I'm so happy.
I'm
to be back home,
enjoying it.
Yeah.
You know, like whenever I get people in here that like, you know, I'm fanboying on, like, you know, Sally Wiggin, Rick Seaback, like I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, dude.
You know what I mean? Like I'm fanboying about it. It's like, you got every right to fanboy.
Yeah.
You know, things look like you're going great down there.
It's fun.
I'm sorry I haven't been in there yet.
It's all good.
I need to make it down in there.
It's a good vibe, I think.
It looks good, dude.
That's a lot of the feedback that we've got from the neighborhood is that they're really happy that we're doing it. Like I said, like I don't know. It's got good karma being in that spot.
Yeah.
The people that are working there, we're enjoying what we're doing, and like we're getting good feedback. A lot of the feedback that people are writing is like, it's cool in here, and like everyone's so nice, and like they have all these other different things that we didn't even, you know, never tried before. We were making, and then you get like a lot of the old guys that like used to go to Foster's and Furlan's, and they're like, it's got kibasi, and we're like, yeah, and they're like, I'm trying to teach everybody in the shop how to say kibasi, and like everyone's like kielbasa. I'm like, nah, kibasi.
Yeah, kibasi. That's 100% how I say it.
I know. And then they're like, so we have some, and then we've tried to make some in house, and like we also made it, but it's like, you know, it's a little more expensive than it probably was at Foster's.
You got these old guys that talk shit to you sometimes?
Oh,
They mess with you?
They're like, oh, yeah.
So I love it.
One dude came in, he was like, just today, like our neighbors are a plumber, Palucci Plumbing. They hooked up our ice machine last week. We brought them over a bunch of cookies and sausages and stuff, and the guys come in, they were talking to the other butchers. They're like, no, you're fat, you know, like, and then I came out of the back, and he goes, oh, you're a fat butcher. I'm like, oh, thanks, dude. But like, we've had old guys come in and like be like, oh yeah, is this your kibasi? We're like, yeah. And then they're like, oh, it's, you know, that's too fucking expensive, and just walk out. And then I have like other friends of mine that like, you know, go and like spend a lot of money on food and stuff like you were talking about. And they're like, you can raise your prices.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we don't want it to be like, you know, as long as I'm getting both sides, as long as some people are
hard.
saying,
it's hard.
I'm not trying to like, you know, I mean,
yeah, you're not trying to wax people completely, but it's like also, you know, like you want it to be what it is, you know?
Yeah, I mean, if you buy like a locally sourced like heritage bred pig, and then you break it down in house and make sausage with a, you know, small grinder and a sausage stuffer like this by hand, it's going to cost $12 a pound at least.
Dude.
You know what I mean? Like if you're buying it at $5,
but you get what you pay for.
Yeah, it is good quality. It's
I mean, you get what you pay for. And I mean, like people,
yeah.
you have so many people bitching about like the cost of groceries and shit now, but it's like, you got to understand this is what comes with it. It's like, you know, your prices of shit ain't staying the same and just ours is going up.
Right.
It's like everyone's prices are going up.
Yeah. Feed and gas last year. Like,
and I fully expect, you know, going to a big name grocery store, buying a pack of sausages there is going to be, you know, half the price of coming and buying, you know, hand stuffed sausage down there. It's like, come on, it better be, right?
Yeah. And you taste the difference, man.
100%.
Like, you absolutely taste the difference. And like people have been coming back, and like people that, you know, maybe were a little older and weren't expecting to pay, you know, that for a sausage. But like I said, we keep the burger at like $10 a pound. So that, $10 for the burger. And like, that's like for locally sourced, like, you know, beef that we're grinding in house. Like that's so good. I think that's a real good price point. So we keep things like, we're not trying to like, you know.
Yeah, but you're doing it proper.
But we're competing with, you know, people that are going up to Whole Foods and they're like, yeah, their tenderloin's also $32 a pound or something. And I'm like, yeah, but where's it coming from? You know, they're owned by Amazon. I don't know. They're getting better prices. They're getting better margins than we are.
100%, dude.
Yeah, dude.
Slippery.
They're crushing it.
Slippery.
So, whatever, man.
Bezos, that's slippery. He's slippery.
Yeah, dude. I mean, whatever, man. We're doing it because we like it.
I know. I get it.
And I do think we'll be successful if we keep the same, you know, keep the same ethos, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And the farmers have been amazing. Like Jake and Desiree, they were the ones that introduced us to everybody. You got to plug me into them for sure. Oh, sure. Yeah. They've been great, man. It's hugs every time we see them, and they come in and watch us break down, and you know, they get sandwiches and stuff. And
well, what are your goals for the shop? I know that it's new, but I mean, what are your goals?
I mean, just stay open and keep getting to do it. I originally had said like getting to 1 cow a week would be the good goal for the first year. And we hit that in the first 2 weeks.
Oh, fuck, you're good then.
But
you got 50 weeks to just chill.
Yeah, I would like to, we're starting to be able to sell wholesale. So like all we need is like a couple more restaurants that are going to buy, you know, 30, 50 pounds of ground beef a week. And that allows us to get up to 2 cows a week.
Yeah.
And if we can get 2 cows a week, then we have like more steaks, so that on Saturday and Sunday, people aren't coming in and being like, can I get like a big ribeye? And we're going, they're all sold out, you know, but everyone wants that. But then we have these other cuts, but then it's a long conversation to like try and like,
you got to talk them into it, kind of explain what this is.
Yeah. And then, you know, I have friends that have kids and stuff, and they cook for a bunch of people all the time, and they like would get one of these different steaks, and they're like, I would never buy another ribeye for like all these people. I would buy this. It's much better value.
Yeah.
Like it's half the price, but it's not half the quality.
Yeah.
It's like
just people are just uneducated about it.
It's hard to try some of these
I'm trying
steaks.
to come in here and like, I'm trying to get educated on it.
Yeah. We'll side you a couple interesting steaks you take home and try them out. Like,
yeah, for sure.
There's a lot of steaks that like refer to as, they call them butcher cuts. And when you're in a shop kind of like ours, and we're not doing this, but like there's like an oyster steak. It's really, really small. And while you're butchering it, you cut it off, and it's only like this big, but we would just throw it right on the flat top and eat it. You know? And it's only like $2 to go in the case, but we're always trying to put that oyster steak in the case so that people can try it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of butcher cuts.
Where's
like
it off
hanger
of?
steak. The oyster is right off the inside of the hip. It's like hidden in there.
It's like a walleye cheek.
Yeah, it's like a walleye cheek.
Amen.
Exactly, dude.
You
It's so good. It's
a good shit.
Yeah.
Come on.
We did all right in Lake Erie this summer. We finally limited out.
My dad's a fucking animal up there.
I love it.
Limit every day.
Oh, we
They're
do.
out there
We do
killing
not.
it.
Dude, we were like 0 for 6.
Dude, my dad and his group of friends, they're retired. So, I mean, like, they're out there on a boat just killing it.
They
filling
know
up a
where to go.
Yeti cooler. Oh, yeah, they got their spots. They've been up there for like decades.
That's awesome.
And you know, they got
Erie
their
or
shit
Ohio?
worked out. Erie.
In Erie?
Yeah, New York kind of. Ripley, New York.
Okay. All right. Do they charter?
He got
I was going to say,
I mean,
you hook me up with them.
we'll figure something out for sure. We've been
going out to like Port Clinton in Ohio. It's
I love walleye fishing.
Yeah, right by what is it called? Right by Put-in-Bay.
Yeah,
that's a party spot. But yeah, there's some real cool steaks. But again,
Never heard of an oyster steak.
Yeah, there's ones that like they would call them butcher cuts because the butchers would just take home because they're like, it's not worth that much. We're not selling this, like, but I want it, you know. And like I'm getting to the point where I'm like, man, I haven't had like one of these like steaks in a while. Like my favorite's like a tri-tip. Yeah, and it's kind of well known. California tri-tip is like a big thing. Santa Ana, California, a lot of biker bars, they smoke whole tri-tips and slice and make tri-tip sandwiches, sort of how like they do with Texas and briskets in Texas, you know.
Wow.
But they're much easier to cook.
Dude, I'm so bad with cuts of meat. Like I don't know what any of the shit is, and it's like I gotta watch a couple YouTube videos.
You go to our website too. We got a page called The Cuts, and I wrote a little thing about every single one that we.
Oh yeah.
And like people come in and they're like, I read your website. Can I get this? And we're like, yeah. And like, you know, it might be a steak that's kind of like buried in the hip of the cow that like I might not have it on hand, you know, because some of these steaks, there's only one or two on the whole animal.
Yeah.
And so you're talking about 2 pounds total. If I put those in the case, if I put a Terry's Major in the case, which is like they call it like a petite tender. It's a bistro steak, like, steak for one, you know, like it's a little thing. It looks like a little football. I put that in there and like, if someone who knows it,
What's it called again?
The Terry's Major. That's actually like the
Terry's Major.
Yeah. That's sometimes they'll call it like a petite filet, but Terry's Major is like the actual, like, you know, medical term for it.
I love that name.
It's a shoulder muscle. You have one in the back of your shoulder, like when you tear your rotator cuff.
Right, you put that on a menu, I'm buying it. Terry's Major.
Yeah.
You eat your steaks. How do you eat your steaks?
Depends on the steak. Depends on the cut.
Are you
some of them rare, some of them medium.
Really, a rare guy?
Some of them.
An aristocrat.
If I get a sirloin, I'll do it rare, or like a tenderloin, I'll do it rare.
Huh.
But if I get like a Terry's Major, I'll still do that rare. But if I'll do like a ranch steak or a tri-tip, I'll do that like closer to medium.
Yeah.
'Cause I want it to cook a little bit more. It has a little bit more.
You're pretty adventurous with food?
Yeah, I've tried some crazy shit. I had whale blubber up in the Arctic. Raw whale blubber. It's called muktuk. It's terrible. Yeah. It's terrible. They cut it with one of those like
I know what it is.
Knives.
I watch Alaska Frontier.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I got someone told me that I should try it, and it's like I said, what's it like? And they said, you know those like little pinky racers?
Yeah.
You know, they're like, put one of those in your freezer for like a day, and then pull it out, dip it in some soy sauce, and chew on it, and that's kind of what it tastes like. That's pretty awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll try anything once, probably. I'll try almost anything once, you know?
All right. Well, is there anything you think I missed with the shop?
Man, I was asking, you know, Emily before I left, like, is there anything I need to mention? I think I mentioned everything that we do, you know? I think, what we do a lot of times is we ask our customers to try and help us, you know, keep us a whole animal shop and like try some of the more adventurous cuts out there. There's a lot of them that are going to start to catch on, hopefully. And we butcher a cow every Wednesday, and so, you know, Thursday, Friday, like people are starting to know you're going to be sold out of this. Like, do you have those today?
If I drive down on a Wednesday, will you hold me a Terry's Major?
Yeah, bud.
I got to try a Terry's Major.
Yeah.
Out of all the shit you just said, oyster steaks, everything, I just want to try a Terry's Major.
The Terry's Major it's a great one, dude. It's a great one. Yeah, it's about 3/4 pound. It's just a little guy. There's only 2 on each animal.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I feel like whenever, you know, you're talking about people trying these new cuts and everything like that, but I feel like, you know, for someone that is, you know, walking into a shop, it could be intimidating. You know, the butcher shop that I've been to, it's like, you know, there's a line, and if you're taking your time, your old dude's getting pissed behind you. I would assume that you're a more welcoming shop. You know, talk to you a little bit. You know, educate. You know, don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yeah, it is, and we're not. You know, no one's been pushy. Everyone's been really chill in the shop. We do have like a take a number thing, but we haven't even really used it. It's just kind of like for the logo, like the little tag, you know?
Love it.
Yeah, I mean, some people don't want to have that interaction so much. So that's why we did the cuts page on the website, so people can like read about all these things, and then, you know, they can call ahead. You can do special orders. If you want us to reserve something, like I have a friend that always wants like, you know, a Terry's Major, or another friend who always likes the picanha. It's like a big big steak to feed like 6 or 7 people.
Wow.
It's off the top sirloin, right near the tail. And like we learned like all these little like reasons why it's called picanha. It's a Brazilian cut. They use them in like Brazilian steakhouses where they like skewer them through and they wrap the fat around the outside. But we looked up the word picanha and what it means, and it was like the stick that they use to guide cows. And so we think like you tap a cow like on the rear, and that's right where the picanha is.
Oh,
so I think that's why it's called the picanha. And the other name for it is called the culotte. And I don't know, like in Italian, culi is like your butt. In French, like culi or culo or something is like your rump. You know what I mean? So it's like it's the butt of the cow.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah. So like some of these names are like because
There's
of
meanings
random
behind
stuff. Some of them, yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you ready for the gauntlet? Everyone that's on the podcast gets to go through the ending segment that I do. It's an ending segment called Desert Island Questions.
Yeah. Am I supposed to talk during this or let the...
That's all right.
Oh, that was it. All right.
Let it play. So Desert Island Questions, whenever I give each guest 3 categories to take with them on a desert island and use until they starve to death and die. First category on a desert island is 3 movies. So you get a little 12 by 12 TV with an integrated DVD player, and you get 3 DVDs for the rest of your life.
Oh, man. Maybe Home Alone.
Should have came to the event.
Man, I haven't seen it in a while, but one I probably watched more than any other movie is probably Goodfellas.
It's a good one.
Now it's going to be tough.
Home Alone and Goodfellas. I love those are 2 good choices. I'm more of a Casino man, but I love it.
I like Goodfellas a little bit better. I love Casino too, but man, and the last one is going to be, it's got to be something weird. I'm thinking the movie Made with Jon Favreau and Vince Vaughn. It was the one they made after
Swingers.
After Swingers.
I've never seen that one.
Oh, dude, it's so silly. And like Vince Vaughn's such an asshole in it. He's just, I don't know. It just came to my head. Like I'm trying to think of movies that I've like,
watched a bunch that you can just put on.
And that one I like loved, man. I watched that one so many times, but yeah.
Those are good answers.
Yeah. If you haven't seen Made, check it out. It's so silly. It's like, it's such a, just such a shithead in it. It's
are
great.
you, so the second category I usually do is 3 books to take on a desert island.
Oh, this is going to be tough too.
Are you a reader?
Yeah.
What books?
Oh, what 3 books?
Yeah.
Fuck. Man, The Old Man and the Sea.
Loved it.
Yeah, taking that.
I did my final senior presentation on that.
Damn, the first time I read it, I think 3 times in a row. After I read it once, I just went right back. And yeah, I love that one.
I loved it. I ate Adderall and I read it.
Okay.
That's what I did. That's what I did for my school project.
I think I ate edibles and read it. I was like, this is crazy.
Old Man of the Sea.
Storm of Steel by Ernst Junger. It's a World War I book. This kid was like one of those. Did you see the new All Quiet on the Western Front?
Not yet.
One of these. Man, it's dark, and it's a dark story, man. Dude gets drilled a bunch of times. It survives the war, but man, he gets shot a lot. It's just you can't imagine, So it is a lot of people say it's the best account of World War I trench warfare on the Western Front. This dude survived it.
Jesus,
Ernst Junger. Yeah. Let's see. Third favorite book that I had to read over and over and over. Slaughterhouse-Five.
Oh, okay.
Kurt Vonnegut. Yeah, I think that would be my third. I read it every once in a while, it's something about the death and stuff. The other one I was thinking, can I say one more even though
yeah.
Is The Stranger by Camus. And like, I think that it's sort of like existentialist, kind of existentialism, where like, I think the first line of The Stranger is, I think he says, my mother died today, or was it yesterday? I can't remember. And it's just this like weird mindset that like immediately like you have to then read like, oh, this is maybe not the same brain as I'm working with over here. Just someone that thinks totally different. And that the bombing of Dresden, in Slaughterhouse-Five is just such a crazy thing that happened in history. And
bleak books that you chose.
I'm a bit of a stoic when it comes to like a negative visualization, like, you appreciate what you have.
Yeah.
And so that you don't want.
I love that. That's a good point.
I kind of like the Stoics.
What's your favorite cookbook?
My favorite cookbook.
Do you have one offhand or a favorite chef that you could think of?
I mean, I think I'm inspired most by Bourdain because of how he writes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't really know, that much about his ability to. I mean, I obviously had a couple restaurants. I got to eat at one of them when it was in DC, Leal. I think an underrated chef is Gordon Ramsay. I think people that are like outside of the culinary world don't realize like what that dude did in London and Paris. You know what I mean?
I don't know what he did at all, but I fucking love him. And I just became to love him since the pandemic.
Yeah.
I never, ever watched any of his shows ever.
Yeah.
And then I just became obsessed.
Yeah.
And I love him.
Yeah. Under Mark Pierre White, this book is called White Heat. And that's like on every chef's like shelf next to Bourdain's, I think, but that's where Gordon Ramsay cut his teeth in Paris and then moved to England and opened up like one of the best restaurants in the world.
What was that called?
I don't know. I think it's just called Ramsay.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
And there was another. And at that same restaurant where Mark Pierre White was the chef, I just learned this yesterday from Adam. He said Mario Batali was a commis, chef de commis. It was just like a prep cook while he was there.
Wow.
So like those three guys are in the same restaurant.
Yeah, that's pretty
Paris.
wild.
Like those dudes rocked.
Jesus.
Yeah. So
It's like Murderer's Row chefs.
Yeah. But as opposed like cooking books, I don't know too many. I have a lot of cookbooks and I think the recipe book that I like the most is called Primal. What is it called? Damn it, Primal. I can't remember. It's in the front of our shop, and I have it like on the table up there, and it's America's Best Butchers and their favorite recipes. And so like I found so many cool recipes out of there. And as I was like cooking through the cow and being like, what do I do with a lamb neck? What do I do with pig tongue? What do I do with all of these? Like, how do I make some new sausages that I haven't tried before? That book has been really like inspiring. And just like seeing what other butchers are doing, as they're cooking their way through the animal
and sparking the creativity in you.
Yeah, that's a great one. I can't remember the name of it, but you got to come to the shop. It's sitting right up front. Please don't steal it.
Please don't steal it.
Please don't steal it. And the Mile End cookbook is a Jewish deli in New York. Mile End is a neighborhood in Montreal. It was real close. We lived right by Mile End, and the bagels in Montreal and like some of the smoked meat, which is what they call like pastrami sandwiches.
Gotta be crazy.
Like Lawad, the smoked meat. Oh, dude, Schwartz Deli, all these like Jewish delis up there that just,
insane.
They crush. Yeah. The bagel shops. It's amazing, man. So the Mile End cookbook is really cool for like pickles and fermented stuff and,
really?
Old world.
I'm going to have to look at that.
Yeah.
Fuck around with some hot sauces.
Yeah.
I've been making hot sauces.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah, that's a good one to do. And then like, do you do the fermented hot sauces?
No, I haven't. I grow my own peppers, do peppers and garlic and a couple other things in there, bottle it up. But it's just a simple recipe. It's pretty good though.
Yeah,
I'm happy with it, but I want to get into making my own srirachas. Something along the I need to get into the fermenting, but like I haven't done it yet. I know it's something.
It's pretty it's a little
you just got to learn it, but once you learn it then it's kind of automated.
Some basic you got a digital scale, weigh it out.
Yeah, basic knowledge. I know what I need to do. I just got to do it.
Yeah. You can fuck around and make some really weird hot sauces when you start crossing like different peppers and then save it for a year and then use that to start the next one. And
the dude that I interviewed on here, he's one of the big dogs at Pittsburgh Institute of Mortuary Science.
Cool.
He makes all of his own salsas, hot sauces, and everything, and he doesn't try them for a year. They stay in his fridge for a year.
Yeah,
dude, he's a gangster.
Nice,
my boy. Yeah. Whenever I grow up, I want to be like him. Okay, third category.
3 CDs. Maybe I would say big pun, but I think it got eaten. That's an inside joke. Let's see, 3 CDs that I could play over and over. One, I think would be the I don't know what the name of the album is, but Clay Pigeons is the track off of it's Blaze Foley. Blaze Foley is an old country musician. The song is actually a John Prine song, but Blaze Foley made it his, man. It's Blaze Foley's song. And there's a good movie on Netflix called Blaze. It's like his life story.
It's about him?
Yeah. Okay. It's pretty good. So that's probably one. Man, I might have to rock the Rage Against the Machine first album. The first one, the Rage Against, self-titled, Rage Against the Machine, Rage Against the Machine.
That's a good array.
Yeah, we're going one direction, we're going another one.
Yeah,
rap and I always the music genres. I always go like rap and country.
That's all right though.
Then,
that's good. It's not all just one. It's not all one vibe.
Yeah,
I like to be able to switch it up. You got all bleak shit for your books, and then
I got some silly movies.
The silly movies, and then you got like an array of music. I like that. That's good. Yeah. Okay, third to last question is the death row meal.
Ooh, that's easy. Good.
You get an appetizer, main course, dessert.
Appetizer is going to be oysters.
Okay. Yeah. Raw oysters?
Raw oysters, yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, dude. Raw oysters, I like East Coast, cold water oysters from like New Brunswick or something like that, right? Somewhere way up there, Newfoundland. And just with some made, horseradish. Lemon, right there. Briny as hell. Down the hatch. And then what? Then an entree and a dessert?
Entree and a dessert.
Entree is going to be my mom's bourgeois.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Probably legendary.
It is, it's up there, man. Yeah, it's up there. It's up there with the legends. She makes it for special occasions. So, my mom's bourgeois, if you ever had it, we've been telling people at the shop, like different, like, cause a lot of older Italian ladies come in and like, I want flank for bourgeois or like this for bourgeois. And like, we'll tell them some other cuts that might work a little bit better. I've even sold my mom on some other ones, but, my mom's bourgeois is the main course. As for dessert,
you dessert guy?
I'm not a big sweets guy. I like chocolates and stuff. And, it's not like I'd turn down dessert, but I'd probably go with a Calvados and a cigar.
What is a Calvados?
Calvados, it's like whiskey from it's like I
thought you were gonna say, oh yeah, that's like a sweet dish. Whiskey and a cigar.
No, it's like a cognac, Armagnac. It's just like a different one from some region in Spain. They call it Calvados. It's just a cognac and
all right,
cognac and a nice Cuban.
That'd be yak.
A
little yak and a Cuban.
That warm yak and a nice Cuban cigar. That'd be the dessert.
You almost made me spill my yak on this $12 soup. That's the best. Second to last question, probably the most telling question that you could answer is, if you're getting ready to go on a road trip, what is your snack of choice that you go to for at a gas station?
Oh, dude, even if it's a gas station, it's got to be beef jerky.
Your beef jerky guy? Yeah. It's weird because like I would never expect how many people choose beef jerky, but the most chosen picks on here, beef jerky, and guess if you could guess a baked snack.
Oh shit, I was gonna say combos.
That's it. Fucking combos.
Is it combos?
In a million years of my life, I would have never in my life. You're about to be episode 230.
Yeah.
Combos, it blows my mind every time people pick it.
Yeah,
blows my mind.
There's not much. Yeah, it's
combos. Come on.
I wasn't gonna say combos, but
you're a combos guy.
No.
Okay.
No.
Good.
They're
dry as hell.
They have like a weird fake flavor.
What it is? It's people liked it so much as a young kid because they were hitting as a young kid snack. Yeah. Nostalgia is a big boost in that. 100%. Yeah. It's like we're in 2023. There's some good ass snacks.
Yeah,
now.
If I'm not getting that, I'm getting sunflower seeds and spitting them out the window.
Yeah, amen.
I might
Best
get
road trip
snack.
Okay, last question. If you could have a conversation with anyone alive or dead, who would it be and why?
Oh, my brother, for sure. Yeah. That's a tough one, but man, every day I think about him.
And that's understandable. And that's very unfortunate that happened. Now, let me ask you this. If it is not your brother, because I feel like a loved one isn't assumed. If your father, people usually choose that. If it's someone you're not affiliated with.
Right. Like my grandfather, obviously, that would probably be my second choice.
That's like, that's my choice.
Yeah. If it's someone that I'm not related to, alive or dead. Man, it's probably going to be some weird, like, historical.
Bro, you couldn't even imagine the answers that I've got in here. People have picked everyone from Randy Marsh to Jesus to people wanted to talk to Stalin. You know, someone picked Stalin. Someone picked Hitler before. There's some wild answers you get with this.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I was thinking like, historical figures that are kind of like misunderstood, you know, or like ones that had like historical relevance, you know, but you don't want to think of like a murderous person like Genghis Khan or someone like, obviously
that would be wild,
you know, or you know, whatever, Vlad the Impaler or some like psychopath that was just like out for world domination, or Alexander. But I don't know, man. I think Einstein. I like read
that'd be a good one.
Einstein's biography. He was an interesting dude, man. Like he was not just a genius in, you know, the numbers game. Like he's
a wild guy.
He's a philosopher, you know. Like he's a really interesting guy. I think Einstein.
That would be a good choice. Good choice for sure.
It would be a long time before he ran out of stuff he could teach me. So
I'm sure.
Yeah,
it's wild though who you hear of who you hear when people, whenever you ask them that.
Well, someone just like rattles something off, like who knows? You know,
dude, it's wild. And the reason that like, I don't ask you these in the beginning because like, I don't tell you these in the email because like, I don't want people to like really think about it. I just want whenever you hear to just like pop in your mind. Yeah. But, I appreciate you coming over today. I appreciate what you do. I'm excited about coming through. I appreciate you taking some time. Please take a second to, promote your business. Tell everyone where they could find you, the address, the Instagram page, the whole thing. Yeah, man. You can hit us up. We are at 5151 Butler Street in Lawrenceville, the 10th Ward. The best way to like sort of see what we're doing is to follow us on Instagram. Our Instagram's Fat Butcher Shop. I tried to get Fat Butcher at some dude in England. I've been texting back and forth with him. He doesn't want to hear it. Is it just a regular guy? Some random guy. Yeah. Fat Butcher. So it's Fat Butcher Shop. Fat Butcher Shop. You'll see the logo. It's red, white, and blue. Did you really contact him? Like you have talked? Yeah. He even had, no, he never wrote me back. He also had like a YouTube page that he doesn't use anymore. Shame. But yeah, I thought this dude was like messaging you back like, nah, fuck you, bro. No, I texted him. I messaged him. I was like, dude, I'll Venmo you $20 or whatever you want. Like, I mean, how much is your Instagram handle worth? Like, who cares? Especially if you're not using it. But yeah, Fat Butcher Shop. We post a menu on there like every day. We post new sandwiches. We change sandwiches like once or twice a month. Sometimes we change a couple sandwiches this week. We got all kinds of like interesting stuff. I was making 30 pounds of meatballs right before I came over here. I love it. My mom approved of the meatball recipe. So like being an Italian, in that Italian family, what's your mom think of all this? Dude, this is the funniest thing. So when she came in, our chef was making meatballs and they were great. He put them on a meatball sandwich. And my mom goes, and I remember when I tasted it, I was like, what kind of cheese do you have? He's like, I didn't put any cheese in them because I'm putting it on top. And he was like, it's going to be good on a sandwich, don't worry. And I go, Chef, I'm not worried about it. It's going to be good. But my mom comes in and she goes, yeah, your chef didn't put any cheese in the meatballs. I go, I know, Ma. I go, he's got a recipe. There's cheese all over the sandwich. Don't worry. She goes, what kind of, you make some Italian meatballs. You got to put cheese in the meatballs. And my Jesse goes, I'm Scotch Irish or something. He goes, tell your mom she's lucky I'm not putting potatoes in them. And so since then, like he hasn't put meatballs on the menu. I mean, if he wants to, he will. But like my mom brought him her meatball recipe. She brought it down just to break his balls, and like he loved it. Like that's the best. But yeah, I made some meatballs today. But I'm not. My mom usually doesn't. She's been much more supportive of my cooking since I started cooking professionally and like can execute things properly. Yeah, that's cool. Before then, it was always like that's cool from being like someone being in a family that knows how to cook. That's cool. I could never make anything as good as her. And then there's some things now I can. She's like, yeah, you got. However you want. Everything you cook is good, so she's come around. That's dope. Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, dude. I really do. Yeah, man. Yeah, this is really fun. I'm glad I drove down. I'm glad to. Yeah. Everyone else that's listening, appreciate it as usual. Each and every week, back with another good guest doing dope stuff in the city. So thanks for listening. Call you right back.